All right. Welcome to the live reaction to former President Trump's rally in Pennsylvania. So what I'm going to do is go through some talking points before he takes the stage today. And I want to do more of these because what I've been noticing is that you have a lot of creators who support Kamala Harris. And every single rally that she's doing, every single press conference that she's doing, they go live talking about it. And you know what else they do? They go live every time Donald Trump does a press conference or rally. And they do what? They talk shit on him. So I think it's only right that we start making this a common thing where we come on live when he is speaking and talk about it. And to make sure that the truth is being exposed and being put out there and shared. So, hey, this is a reminder. Make sure that you do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Every single day I drop videos for you guys to share what the truth really is, because we know we live in a world where, you know, the propaganda machine is at full scale for Kamala Harris, and that everything they do, they want to diminish President Trump. And, you know, I'm not saying President Trump is a perfect individual. He is not. Clearly he is not. But his policies are exactly what America needs today. That is not really up for debate. Even people who support Kamala Harris will acknowledge that his policies are better, which we've done videos on that as well. So without further ado, let's start by doing this. Let me remind you guys, if you guys have questions, definitely drop them in the chat. If you guys want to do super chats, you're more than welcome to do that as well. I would appreciate that, of course. And make sure that you subscribe to the channel. This is also another announcement for you guys. When I hit 100,000 subscribers, I'm going to start going live once a week. And I want to make it where half of the show is talking about everything that's going on, and the other half of the show is to give you guys an opportunity to call in and we could talk, right? And because I want to hear your voice, I want other people to hear everyday Americans speak on this, because I get this impression that we are the silent majority. And so that's what I want to start doing. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure that you do that, of course. Now, what we're going to do while we're waiting, because he still is not live yet, because you guys already know how the rallies go. He will, you know, have people open up for him, and he's not ready yet. So what I want to do is highlight a couple things. Let's talk about what's been happening. So we already know that Kamala Harris dropped her. I guess the best word to put it is her communist plan for this country as far as the, you know, economy is concerned, and how she wanted to do price gouging, which will never happen, by the way. I was explaining this to my wife last night. So for some of you guys out there that you may not technically understand, what does it mean to price gouge something, or why would that not work, or is that even a feasible thing? Well, it's really easy for people who've owned businesses to understand this, because when you own a business, just because you sell something for 20 bucks and you paid for it, let's say it cost you $10, a lot of people think, oh, well, the $10 is my profit. Not quite. You see, if it cost you, for example, let's say this iPhone, right? Let's say I was an authorized retailer of Apple. And Apple says, hey, we'll sell you this phone for $1,000, right? And then I turn around and I sell the iPhone for $1,200, right? So I have a $200 profit margin in there. Well, that's your gross profit, not your net. Gross, you're not subtracting certain expenses. Net, that means you subtracted everything in the book. Point being is this. Let's say, again, I pay $1,000 for this phone. I'm going to sell it for $1,200. But then the government comes out and says, well, you can only sell the phone for $1,100. Wait, what? You mean I can't sell it for $1,200? No, you got to sell it for $1,100. So now what has that done to my business? What it's done is it's reduced my profit to now $100. Now you might say, well, isn't that still enough? It's not, because one of the big lessons in business is that when you are selling a lot of, like if you're in a business where you have to sell quantity, that means you have to put up a lot of money to buy the inventory. And like I said, that costs money. And it also costs money to take in the inventory. It costs money to stock the inventory, right? It costs money to ship the inventory to the customer. So you need every dollar that you can get from your profit to pay for what it costs to not just buy the product, but what it costs to sell the product. And that's where a lot of people don't understand business, where, you know, if you really think about it, let me make sure he's not live yet. Not yet. That's what a lot of people don't understand about business is gross profit is not what it is. It's your net profit. So let's go back to it. I bought this phone for $1,000. The government wants to say, hey, you can only sell it for $1,100. Okay, but now what else am I having to pay? Do I have to pay for my warehouse where I stock all the cell phones? Do I have to pay for the shipping fees? Do I have to pay for the taxes, right? Do I have to pay employees to stock these things, right? Do I have to pay the shipping fees because maybe the phones are not coming from California, they're coming from China, right? I mean, all of these things add up in the end. So, you know, just because you buy something for $1,000 and sell it for $1,100, that still doesn't mean it's a viable business, because the profit margin is too thin there. And so the whole price gouging is not realistic. It's not going to help. And she's trying to apply it to a business where their profit margin, listen to this, their profit margin is anywhere from 1%, at most 7%. Think about that. Their profit margin from 1% to 7%. So the justification they're trying to use is, well, the bacon is at a high price. Eggs are at a high price. Is that because the grocery stores wanted to price gouge the customers, or is that because the grocery stores had to respond to the inflation because it's costing them money? All right? And let's go all the way to the source of this, because they're not going to tell you this, by the way. Let's think of the grocery store. Well, first off, how is the vegetables grown in the first place? On a farm. And you can't grow the vegetables on a farm unless the soil is fertilized. So what? You're going to cap the soil and the ingredients they put in the soil? Are you going to cap, you know, the drivers that come and pick up the vegetables? Let alone, are you going to cap the wages on the workers who are picking the vegetables? Are you going to cap the gasoline and the diesel that is needed to transport those vegetables, right? Are you going to cap the warehouse that receives these vegetables? They pick it, they repack it, and they you know, put it on a pallet so it can go to the actual grocery stores. Like, so just trying to cap the price at the end user is unrealistic, because that doesn't make any sense. And what's interesting is that the end user, like retailers, they don't make that much money as people really think. This is why you always see retail businesses coming and going, because they're at the end of the cycle, right? They're the ones selling it to the customer. And if inflation is high, right, obviously they're going to have to raise their prices, which means what? Depending on what they're selling, that means the demand will go down, right? And people start to prioritize what they're going to pay for moving forward. So instead of going to Victoria's Secret, right, or going to the mall or buying those Jordans or tennis shoes or whatever, people start to rethink their choices when it comes to how they spend their money. And that's what a lot of people are doing right now, is the things that they were buying 4 years ago, they're not buying that right now because they don't know what's going on. Everything is too much. So I say all that to say as a great lesson that, hey, price gouging will actually do more damage than it will do good. And to cap this point off, as a great lesson for you guys is this. Let's say they go through with it and they do cap the prices. Let's go back to my analogy. Got the phone, right? Cost me $1,100 to get this phone, or $1,000 to get this phone. Well, if I can only sell it for $1,100, that means I don't have as much money as I would have had to buy more inventory, right? Because now I'm only working with the $100 instead of the $200, right? Because remember, my original example was I buy this phone for $1,000, I sell it for $1,200. The government comes in and says you can only sell it for $1,100. Got it. That means I don't have as much money as I would have to buy more phones and keep an inventory. So what does that mean? That means there's going to be a shortage, because now I have to I have to think about, okay, how much more cell phones can I afford to buy at this time? Because remember, you don't buy a cell phone if you're a retailer one at a time. You buy in bulk, right? So it just doesn't make any sense, and it'll actually cause more harm than good. So there's that right there. And then there's obviously the child tax credit that she had put out, claiming that $6,000 would go to a first year baby, and that's the same thing that President Trump, he already did that with the tax cuts. He's the one that introduced the child tax credit, by the way. And so they're just piggybacking off of that and trying to make the actual amount higher. Because I believe under his original tax cuts, it was $3,000 or $2,500. Then JD Vance proposed $5,000, and now she's proposing $6,000. So, yeah. So there's the second thing that she did. All right, let's check in with the comments, see who's all here. Who we got on here? Oh yeah. By the way, reminder: once we get to 100,000 subscribers, we'll start going live once a week. Give you guys an opportunity to catch up with me live, and also call into the show. So once we hit 100,000 subscribers, we'll be doing that. What day that will be, I don't know yet, but I'll definitely put out a post on it. Let's see here. Everything else is communism. Yeah. Then she will do like Trudeau and hand out money and drive up inflation. Yeah, see, that's the thing that they don't want to say, is the reaction to COVID was an overreaction, or an overcorrection, meaning they put too much money into the economy, which drove up inflation. That's just the reality of the situation. You cannot allow the government to do things like that, because it's an artificial action. It's not a natural thing. And whenever the government artificially does something to the economy, more times than not, it drives up inflation and jacks everything up. And that's what the Inflation Reduction Act did. And of course, these people in Washington, it's like they keep kicking the debt down the road. They know they have this trillion. I don't even know what the number is at this point. Let's look it up. How much is our debt? Let's see, the deficit. Here it is. We are at, as of June 2024, we're at 73 billion. Okay, I thought it was a trillion. Oh, here it is. I don't know what the heck they were talking about. 1.5 trillion. There we go. Yeah, 1.5 trillion that we are in debt as a country. And that happens because we're spending more money than obviously the government is making. It's simple business. And the government does not, let me show you guys. Let's see here. Let's go here. There we go. So we spent 6.13 trillion, but we only made 4.4 trillion, which leaves us a deficit of 1.7 trillion. This was in 2023. It's basic math is what it really comes down to. And so a lot of people wonder, well, how is the government supposed to make money? It's very simple, actually. The government makes money by obviously tax revenue, but they make money through tariffs. They make money through selling oil. And that's the difference between Trump and Biden, is that Trump actually wanted to use Alaska because the oil over there in Alaska is abundant. It's according to people, Alaska has the most oil under its land. The problem is the what do you call those people? The environmentalists. They don't want that to happen. They don't want us drilling into the earth, of course. They don't want us doing any of that. They also want us to stop using fossil fuels, which is unrealistic at this point. Anyways, so he wanted to buy more land in Alaska, which he did do during his presidency. and start drilling more oil, and then turn around and sell it. So that America could become the number one producer of oil and the number one seller. Because what does that do? That makes more money. And that's the amount of money on that is crazy. And so that money could be used to pay down the deficit of the money we didn't make and to pay into other social programs like Social Security, right? Or Medicare and things like that. And so when you hear people say, well, how is Trump going to get away with keeping the taxes where they are? And how is he going to get away with enforcing the no tax on tips and no tax on Social Security? Because all we need to do as a country is just make more money. We have the ability to do so. We have the resources to do so. We have the most millionaires, billionaires in the world that lives in America. You're telling me that we can't figure out how to make more money? Of course we can. The problem, though, is this is why you don't notoriously have business people running the government, because obviously if you did, we wouldn't have some of these issues. The problem is a lot of these politicians on both sides, they are obviously colluding, and they're in cahoots with people that oppose this type of thinking. So there are politicians that are obviously tied to these environmentalist groups. There are politicians who are tied to foreign adversaries that do not want America to be the number one producer of oil and make a lot of money, meaning we would be energy dominant. They don't want that. They don't want it because it obviously gets in the way of what? Their money. Sorry, just making sure that it hasn't started yet. And so that's the reality of the situation. So when people think, well, my vote doesn't count, it absolutely counts, because the only way people in Washington are ever going to pay attention is when they start looking at what the poll numbers are saying. That's what they did with Joe Biden. Once the poll numbers kept showing that he had no chance of winning the election, they got him out of there, right? I mean, the debate was the nail in the coffin, and then it was supported by poll numbers that just showed there's no way he's going to win Michigan. There's no way he's going to win Wisconsin or Pennsylvania. He's done. So they got him out of there. And it's smart on the Democrats' behalf, because they want to do everything they can to make sure President Trump doesn't make it back to the White House. But, you know, I believe this paradox where the more you try to control something, the less control you have. And I think the Democrats are trying to control the American people and the political system to the point where it's going to blow up in their face. But I digress. Anyways, they don't want Trump back in the White House, of course, and because it's counter to their way of doing things. And let me just make this point for you guys. The reason why, if you really want to think about it, President Trump even became the president in the first place is because politicians were no longer doing their job. It's just what it is. We had a Republican president by the name of George W. Bush who got on TV and lied to people. There are weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. No, there wasn't. It's just fascinating. And that his family had insurance on the buildings surrounding the Twin Towers. But we're not going to get into that because, you know, that's a whole rant. These politicians are liars. We know this. Okay. And anyways, George W. Bush lied to us. A lot of America has lost their life based on a freaking lie. Now, if we had found weapons of mass destruction, that'd be one thing. And I like the word weapons of mass destruction. Like, what does that exactly mean, right? Anyways, I digress. And then we went into Afghanistan and wasted our time. I served in the military. Let me give you guys a nice little story here while we're still waiting for President Trump to go live here in Pennsylvania. If you guys have yet to like, share, or subscribe to the channel, make sure you do so. And we will turn it on once he goes live. Let me go to this screen here and you guys can see what I see. Anyways, let me tell you this story. So obviously the Twin Towers are attacked and they crumble to the ground. And, you know, the famous clip of the Secret Service telling President Bush what just happened. And obviously his face looks like, yeah, I already knew it happened, whatever. And then what happens? We send people to Iraq. And the problem, though, is that he had to tell the American people somehow, why would we do that? And this also includes Afghanistan. And obviously, the first lie was weapons of mass destruction. And then the second lie was, well, Osama bin Laden is hiding out in Afghanistan, which actually he wasn't, but whatever. Anyways, I say all that to say that the story is this. How do I explain this? This is very interesting. So one of the biggest reasons why I would never vote for Nikki Haley is because of this story. So what happened was, because of these two wars that kicked off, a lot of the politicians invested into private companies who were manufacturing weapons, vehicles, equipment for military soldiers. And they would obviously manufacture all this stuff and then ship it over to Iraq and Afghanistan. And obviously the amount of money, it's just insane. But the point is that a lot of these politicians were making money off of the war. This is why I would never support a Nikki Haley, because wars really happen in today's times, as far as America goes, for money reasons. It's a way for them to make more money and to increase their power, not necessarily to do justice, because people were, like, for example, Iraq, where they ended up killing their dictator. We didn't really need to go into Iraq, but anyways, I digress. So they're making all this equipment. They're making all this money off this equipment. And what happens is they start to manufacture what we would call a Humvee, a particular type of Humvee, for Iraq. Now, if you guys don't understand the difference between Iraq and Afghanistan, think of it this way. Iraq is like Nevada. There's just desert. There's nothing there. There's no mountains. It's just flat. Afghanistan is more like the Sierra Nevadas or Yosemite in California. There are valleys, there are mountains, there's desert. It's like California. There's everything over there, except the beach, of course. And what happened was, the government, for some reason, spent billions and billions of dollars on these Humvees. And when the Iraq war was going on, Afghanistan started to pick up. And when I went to Afghanistan in 2009, it was when they made a decision to send the vehicles from Iraq to Afghanistan. The problem, though, is the vehicles from Iraq were not, what's the best way to put it? It's like you wouldn't take your Mercedes off-roading, right? You wouldn't take your Mercedes vehicle off-roading. That's the analogy. Like, the vehicles from Iraq wouldn't work in Afghanistan because Afghanistan has a lot of terrain. So what would happen to the vehicles that would arrive in Afghanistan? Soldiers started dying because the vehicles would roll over because they're too heavy, and they were not designed in a way to be able to work in Afghanistan. They were designed on flat ground, which is in Iraq. Why am I telling you guys this story? I'm telling you this story because these politicians, they only care about the money, fraud, waste, and abuse. And this all happened under George W. Bush. So he's like the first domino of where Americans started to say, hey, you know what? I don't care what party I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. We just don't like Washington, period. Right? And then there's this other story where the government has spent billions of dollars creating these bulletproof plates for Army helicopters, right? Because obviously that's how most soldiers are transported in Afghanistan, is via helicopters. And they were creating these bulletproof plates because obviously if you're flying a helicopter, the enemy's just going to shoot up and then try to kill you, right? And that's what was happening. Well, the government spent billions of dollars on these bulletproof plates to only find out that they were never put on the helicopters because they made the helicopters too heavy to the point where the helicopter would crash. I mean, this is why I'm telling you, fraud, waste, and abuse. Then there's another story where those vehicles that I was telling you that the soldiers couldn't even use in Afghanistan, you know what ended up happening to these vehicles? We're talking like at least 10,000 of them. They were sitting in a field. It's like a sea of these military vehicles sitting in a field. You know what they had to do? They had to destroy them. Weapons, night vision goggles, ammunition, vehicles were being destroyed every single day in Afghanistan because they believed, hey, if we ship this stuff back, it's going to cost too much money. Fraud, waste, and abuse, right? Of course, you guys seen the whole withdrawal from Afghanistan under Biden's administration. That was a debacle, and now you've got the Taliban out there showing off these vehicles recently. Anyways, so that's under George W. Bush. He gets a fail. And then you have President Obama, who, as soon as he comes into office, you know what the first thing that he does after all Americans were hit with the recession because the banks got greedy, right? What did he do? He bailed the banks out. He did not send anyone that was an executive from those banks who knew what they were doing to prison. They didn't even get a fine. They were bailed out by the government. So that's number one. Obviously, number two is his whole Obamacare, which had great intentions, bad outcomes. And so what happens? You had a Republican and you had a Democrat. Both failed the American people miserably. So then people start saying, you know what? I'm done with politicians. So who comes along? President Trump, Donald J. Trump, who historically was a Democrat, by the way, but not the Democrats that you see today. A Democrat today is not really your regular Democrat from the Bill Clinton administration, right? Or timeline. That's not the Democrat Party of today. The Democrat Party today should be called the Progressive Party. That's what they are. Anyways, he obviously starts getting attention because he starts pointing out what's happened. Why would a billionaire who doesn't need the attention, who's lost hundreds of millions of dollars, run for president if the politicians were doing their job the whole time? It wouldn't make any sense. But this is what happens. It's cause and effect. When people in Washington start getting too greedy and they stop doing their job. I mean, if you guys aren't going to do your job, can you at least make it look like you're doing your job? Can you give us some meat off the bone every now and then? Can you make the American people feel just a little bit that you guys are doing right by us? Oh, no, they got totally lazy and they gave birth to Donald Trump. And now there is this movement of where people care more about the country and everyday Americans than we do about Israel or Ukraine or what's happening overseas. We don't give a shit about that. We care about what's going on in our backyard. Now, obviously, for diplomatic reasons, you don't want to ignore what's happening overseas because it does impact America in one way, shape, or another. But this is what happened. They gave birth to that type of movement, which is a proper word would be a populist, where people care more about the people than they do about what's happening overseas, you know, what's happening on a diplomatic level. They can care less about that. They care about the people here, everyday Americans. And so we obviously have Trump come into office. He does what he's supposed to do. He operates in a way that most politicians wouldn't. He gave us the tax cuts that no other president has done. And what did the Democrats like to do? They get sick because he actually delivered on what he said he was going to do. And when it comes to the tax cuts, they get sick because the tax cuts apply to everyone, from corporate all the way down to the people struggling. And the Democrats, you know what they say? Oh, well, President Trump actually bailed out these corporate and they make more money under Trump. It's just so disingenuous. Everybody made more money under Trump, right? I mean, that's just the reality. So anyways, they had to get him out of there. They had to make sure he did not win the re-election because he broke American politics. He called everyone out, from Republicans to Democrats. Understand something. You think Republicans really want President Trump to be the next president again? No, they don't. It's the people who want him to be the president. There's a difference. See, the Republicans, they're only going along with it because the people have spoken. They don't have a choice, right? They don't have a choice, because if they were to obviously stop supporting Trump, that's going to affect what? Their down ballot, right? The senators, the House of Representatives, right? The local level stuff. So they're going to fall in line and do what they got to do. And the people have spoken. And this is the difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. See, the Democrats, the people did speak. They wanted President Biden to be the next president, but they don't care about what their people want. It's about what they want, which is why they got him out of there and they put Kamala Harris in there. Now, some people believe that's actually President Biden's doing, because he was so pissed off that people turned on him, that people were trying to get him out of there. And so as an FU to the Democratic Party, he endorsed Kamala Harris. What they really wanted was an open convention. They wanted to make sure that they could put the proper and the best candidate forward, which could have been a Mark Kelly from Arizona. He actually, believe it or not, he has a great story. He was an astronaut. He's a twin. You know, his wife was actually shot in the head by a firearm. He has a story that I can see why people would love a Mark Kelly, if that makes sense. Kamala Harris does not have a story. I mean, just let's keep it real. She doesn't have a story. I mean, yes, her mom is Indian and her dad is Jamaican, but it's not like she has an American story, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. So that's what that is. Anyways, so we are where we are today, where Republicans had to get down or lay down. This is why you saw a DeSantis and a Nikki Haley sooner or later submit, because the American people had spoken. We want Donald Trump to be the next president, because under Donald Trump, results were actually delivered. This does not work in the benefit of Washington. They don't want to deliver results for the American people. They want to deliver results for their donors. They want to deliver results in their pockets. That's what they want. So I'm not naive, guys. I do this channel. I spread the truth, but I'm not stupid. You think I know? You think I trust what Kevin McCarthy has to say, or Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, or Lindsey Graham? These guys are all in it for the money and the power. Let's not be stupid here, right? That's who they are. They're career politicians. They can't help themselves. They're in a career where it's a walking conflict of interest. They can spend the rest of their life in Congress if they want to. They get a guaranteed retirement. They get guaranteed health benefits. They have no reason to truly do their job, right? That's just the way that it is. And they don't have term limits either. So, I'm not stupid, and you shouldn't be either. This is why, if I was in anybody's shoes who's trying to figure out who should I be voting for, you should be voting for an anti-politician, which is President Trump. Because what you can bet on him, it doesn't matter if you like him or not. It doesn't matter if you think he's an asshole. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. What matters is he going to get something done? Because we already seen what George W. Bush did. He didn't get anything done. There's a lot of things that he did that you could scratch your head about today. Like the whole Katrina thing. People forget about that. And there's a lot of things that Obama, you know what happened with President Obama? He came in and the rest of the government didn't let him do anything. They shut him down. That's pretty much what happened to him. They did not allow him to pass anything. The only thing that he was able to get away with was Obamacare. And that was through executive orders, which was challenged through the Supreme Court, by the way. Anyways, these politicians in Washington, they're not really going to do right by American people. So we need to continue to support people who are obviously anti-politician, anti-establishment, and we need to get them more into the government, because we know at a minimum whether their personality is likable, whether they whether they have experience with politics. It doesn't really matter. Do they have experience in business? Do they have experience of getting things done? That's who we would want to be the next president of the United States. And obviously Kamala Harris is not that. Kamala Harris is a puppet. I mean, that is the right way to describe her, not as a disrespecting her on a personal level, but facts are facts. She's a career politician. She's just going to do what they tell her to do. That's what she's been doing, by the way. And we've talked about this already, where she is far left, right? She's farther than Bernie Sanders, but not as far as Elizabeth Warren. I mean, that's frightening. But hey, this is a reaction, obviously, to President Trump. And, we're somewhere where we've never been in American politics, where you have the rise of this populist movement like Make America Great, MAGA, right? You have the rise of this progressive movement. You have the erosion of what used to be the Democratic Party and the erosion of what used to be the Republican Party. The Republican Party used to be John McCain, Mitt Romney, people like that, Paul Ryan, people like that. That's not going to get anything done today. And I look at it this way. For the entrepreneurs out there, the Republicans, they have a great product, but they're trash when it comes to selling it. They're trash when it comes to marketing that product. The Democrats, on the other hand, they have a trash product, but they're great at marketing. They're great at selling it. And that's been the difference. It is what it is. That's been the difference. Do you guys remember the State of the Union speech from Biden last year? And at the end of the speech, the Republicans have to give their official response. I can't remember what her name is. Maybe you guys could put it in the chat. This congresswoman, she comes out and she sounds like a robot. Because when we watched the State of the Union from Biden, he didn't make any sense. So if you were an independent or a swing voter, you weren't bought into anything he was saying. So it was a perfect time for the Republicans to say, hey, listen, we get the everyday American. Oh, it's so cringe. I wouldn't even play it for you guys because it's too cringe. It's just too cringe. She sounded like a robot. She sounded like a robot. It's just embarrassing. And that's the MO of the Republicans. When they have to go out there and sell the product, their policies, they have not been the best at that. And the only one who's been even remotely close at being effective has been President Trump, because he is not a politician. All right, so now we have him. So let's tune in here. There we go.
Love Pennsylvania. Thank you very much. Thank you. I really give a very big hello to Pennsylvania. It's great to be back in this beautiful Commonwealth with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots, which is what you are. Think of this. Who would believe this? 80 days from now, we are going to defeat a communist known as Kamala Harris. She's a communist. Most radical left person ever to run for office. This is not what this country needs. We've had enough of them. We're going to win back the White House, and we're going to take back our country. Kamala Harris is a super left liberal who ruined San Francisco, ruined California, and delivered a badly broken economy, a badly broken border, which gave us a dangerous world of chaos, death, and destruction. Just take a look at what's happening today. We were a respected country. Now the whole world laughs at us. We're a bunch of foolish people to have allowed this to happen, but we're going to bring it back. We're going to bring it back very fast. We'll close up the borders. We'll drill, baby, drill. We're going to do things that are going to be very good. Very good, very fast. It'll happen very quickly. But she breaks everything that she touches, but soon we're going to fix every single problem. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, Crooked Joe, what happened to Biden? I was running against Biden. All of a sudden, I'm running against somebody else. It's true. You know, it's interesting. I said, who am I running against? Harris. I said, who the hell is Harris? You don't know. Who the hell is Harris? You know, she was the first one out last time. She was the first one to lose. And now all of a sudden she's running. She never got a vote. That they are a threat to democracy. Remember that. Starting the day I take the oath of office, I will rapidly drive prices down, and we will make America affordable again. We're going to make it affordable again. Under Kamala Harris and Crooked Joe Biden, the American dream was dead, and it is dead. It's dead as a doornail. They'll never bring it back unless we win. If we win, we're going to have the American dream alive, all for your beautiful children, your grandchildren. We'll have the American dream. We'll be back with us. Her radical liberal policies, of course, horrific inflation, decimated the middle class and gutted the finances of millions of American families. And you know what I'm talking about, because everybody in this room has been devastated by what they've done. They have no idea. They're grossly incompetent people. Real incomes are down by over $2,000 a year. Think of that, minimum. And ours up 5 times that amount, more than 5 times that amount. Her price hikes have cost a typical household a total of $28,000 and that's called the Kamala Harris inflation tax. She was there for everything. You know, when she sits and complains, hey, look, Joe Biden hates her, okay? Hates her. You don't mind if I go off teleprompter for a second, do you?
Of course he is.
Joe Biden hates her. This was an overthrow of a president. This was an overthrow. They went out, you know, I spent $100 million fighting Joe Biden. They told him he couldn't win. His debate performance wasn't the best ever. But they said mine was the best ever. But they said his debate performance wasn't. I look forward to debating her, by the way. She'll be easier. She'll be easier than him. Her policies are so bad. Her policy, remember, her father was a Marxist economic professor. He was a Marxist, an avowed Marxist. This is not what we want in this country. And think of it. Does anyone here feel richer under Kamala Harris and Crooked Joe? Is anything less expensive under Kamala Harris or Crooked Joe? No. It's been devastating. Inflation has been devastating under this group of people that have no idea what the hell they're doing. Are you better off with Kamala and Biden than you were under President Donald J. Trump? I don't think so. You know, they do polls on this stuff, and I'm at like 93%. I said, so why are we having an election? They didn't have an election. Why are we having an election? How would you like to be Biden? He's working, he's spending money, he's trying. They wanted to have a debate. That's the thing that started it all. You know, if I didn't debate him, he'd still be running right now. But I believe she will be easier to beat than him because she's a truly radical left lunatic. And with him, he never really believed it. Of course, I don't know if he knew anything. I'm not sure. But he didn't really believe it. She totally believes it. She wants to destroy our country. With 4 more years of Kamala, your finances will never recover. They will only get worse. They're only going to get worse. The stock market, and you have some of the most brilliant people on Wall Street saying this, the stock market is only up because they think I'm going to win. And if we don't win, according to many people, including one of the greatest Wall Street prognosticators named Scott Bessent. Has anyone heard of him? One of the most brilliant guys on Wall Street. If I don't win, you will have a 1929 style depression. Enjoy it. I believe that. I believe that. I believe it. A lot of people believe it. So we're not going to give them the chance, okay? We're not going to give them. And your state's going to be ruined anyway. She's totally anti-fracking. She's been anti-fracking and anti-drilling, anti-oil and gas from practically the day she was born. All of a sudden, a couple of months ago, she said, oh, I'd love to have fracking. Now, she won't have fracking. Vote Trump, and your incomes will soar, your savings will grow, young people will be able to afford a home, and we will bring back the American dream bigger. That we are going to bring it back. Bigger, better. Front row Joe. Bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. We're going to bring it back. Look at all these front row Joes over here. They've only been, you know, we have a couple of groups here. They're at about 222 events. Front row Joe, stand up, wave your hands. You guys are great. Patriots. But I have another group from a place called North Carolina. Has anybody ever heard of North? We love North Carolina. The beautiful ladies over there. This is number...
All right. I want to play this clip for you guys. I think you guys will probably love this. Just for a good measure, right?
For banning fracking. So, yeah.
Here we go. Let's just listen to it.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah. And starting with what we can do on day one around public lands, right? And then there has to be legislation. But yes, and this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. And to your point, we have to just acknowledge that the residual impact of fracking is enormous in terms of the impact on the health and safety of communities. Yeah. So thank you.
So yeah, get that out to all people in Pennsylvania, please, because the results are there.
But 217, and supposedly they're happily married. How the hell does that work? Look at them. They're beautiful, and there's a husband. Are you a husband? Who are you married to, husband? Oh, that was a wise choice. Beautiful, very nice. How do you handle it, right? How do you handle it? But they're great women, and they've been with us from the very beginning. They were with us from the beginning in 2016 when we had the 4 greatest years this country has ever had. They were with us then. Thank you very much. North Carolina. We're doing well in North Carolina. Thank you, darling. It's nice to not have to travel to California and other places, right? Yesterday, Kamala laid out her so-called economic plan. She says she's going to lower the cost of food and housing starting on day 1. But day 1 for Kamala was 3.5 years ago. So why didn't she do it then? So this is day 1305. We're at 1305. So why isn't she doing it now? Why doesn't she get away from her nice little place with her wonderful husband? Go to Washington and do it now. You could do it right now. Why does she go to the convention? Because it's a rigged convention, obviously. She got no votes. He had 14, Sleepy Joe had 14 million votes. She got no votes. She failed. She was the first one out. She failed. She never got to Iowa. Great state, Iowa. We're going to win it big. The farmers love Trump, and I love the farmers. But she never got to Iowa. She was the first one to quit, and now she's running for president. I don't know. Somebody's going to have to explain our system to our many enemies all around the world. They're watching this saying, this place doesn't make a lot of sense anymore. Everything Kamala Harris says in her speeches is a lie. She gets up and just lies. I was watching her yesterday. She talked about all the taxes I was going to raise. I never said that. I'm lowering taxes. Yesterday she got up. She started ranting and raving that Donald Trump wants to put a tax on gasoline, a tax on food, a tax on medication, a tax on clothing, a tax on every single thing that was ever invented. Your hat he's going to tax. Your shirt he's going to tax. He's going to tax your wife. He's going to tax your husband. And I'm saying, I never said any of that. They make it up. Here's the truth. Kamala wants to put massive taxes on American jobs and American industries. I want to...
Yeah, listen, guys, this is recorded history. Democrats raise taxes, Republicans cut taxes. It just is what it is. It's funny that she went out there and lied about it. By the way, I live in California. Governor Newsom wants to impose more taxes on us to the point where they're testing right now a mileage tax, meaning you have to report how many miles you've driven in the state of California, and they tax you on that. This is on top of the gas tax that already exists in California. So, it's all lies, as usual.
For a couple of reasons. Number one, he got a lot of money from China. Didn't he get 3.5 million, 4 million? That they know of. But he got a lot more than that. His family made a lot of money with China. He wants to get rid of the tariff, but he can't because there's so much money they can't do anything with the budget. A tariff is a tax on a foreign country. That's the way it is, whether you like it or not. A lot of people like to say, oh, it's a tax on us. No. It's a tax on a foreign country. It's a tax on a country that's ripping us off and stealing our jobs. And it's a tax that doesn't affect our country. And you could see hundreds of billions of dollars of tariffs on other countries also. I took in hundreds of billions, and nothing happened to us. They make less money. And you know what? Our jobs come back because there's no tax if they build their factory in Pennsylvania. There's no tax if they build their factory in the United States. So what do they do in order to avoid paying the tax? They say, let's build a place over here. No tax. Come on over. We love it. Just hire our people. That's all you have to do. It's very simple. You know, as we speak, and this really goes to Michigan more than you, but I look at Michigan and South Carolina, a lot of other places that do the auto stuff, and they are building some of the biggest auto factories in the world right now. In Mexico, right off our border, they think they're going to make cars, not pay any tax, and sell those cars into the United States. Not going to happen, not with me. They're building some of the biggest auto plants in the world. And you know who owns those auto plants? They're built, they're made, and being built in Mexico. You know who owns them? China owns them. China's very smart. I had a good relationship with President Xi. When COVID came, that was the end of that relationship. But I had a very good relationship. But we took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. Think of it, Bush, Barack Hussein. Did you ever hear of Barack Hussein Obama? Have you heard of him? There are those that think he is currently running the country. Does anybody think? I don't know. I don't know that that's true. We know it's not Biden. Every attack Kamala makes on us is a fabricated, it's a lie. She's sort of a bad storyteller. She doesn't know how to tell a story very well, but she gets caught. She gets caught up in her own words. She's not a very good wordsmith, they say. I don't know. We're going to find out. We're going to have a debate at some point. They gave me the worst network, to me, is ABC. Worse than NBC, worse than CBS, worse than CNN, the home of George Slopadopoulos, a nasty guy. I said, George, I've had you up to here. So, and he's a nasty guy. The hatred. And yet when he interviews Biden, like 2 weeks ago, he interviewed Biden. It was like the nicest interview. What flavor ice cream do you like? George, I tend to like vanilla very much. With me, they get into a lot of subjects that a lot of people don't like talking about. But ABC's the worst. And that seems because they won't do it on Fox. They've turned down the...
All right, let me read Super Chat really quick. Oh, my beautiful wife put, I wish he was a real dictator so he could stay in office forever. Don't say that to Democrats because they will have a meltdown. Let me catch up with some of you guys' comments. Let's see here. Why in God's name do you live in California? Are you originally from California? Yes, we are. We will be moving, so it's all good. Let's see here. I live in Georgia, in an area where there are significant numbers of people on government assistance. This area is nowhere near what it was 40 years ago. And the taxes are eating hardworking citizens alive. Yep. Devore, please stop interrupting the next president of the United States. All right. Well, if you want to watch the stream without any interruptions, then go to his channel. She wants to force a 1.7 trillion first-time home buyer handout. Yeah, we talked about that. Lynn Redland says, no one I know is voting for Harris. I was responding to someone who said it'd be cool in Arizona. Yeah, I agree. All right. Let's see. One more comment and then we'll hop back in. Let's see here. Why is Harris saying she is going to do all the things she claims she will do? She almost had 4 years, and why didn't she do them? I agree. That's going to be her main problem. That's going to be her main problem. Is she's saying she's going to do all this stuff, but she should have done it already. All right, let's hop back into this.
Anna. And now the fake news will say, Trump didn't know how to pronounce her first name. She doesn't know how to pronounce. But look, Dana and Jake, I used to call him Fake Tapper. Now I call him Jake Tapper because he treated us very fairly, and so did Dana. Treat me very fairly. I think it was, just about neutral. But he kept saying, he gave very short answers because he wasn't really doing too well. And I kept saying, I'll take it. But what happened? Sir, you have 92 seconds left. This is not what he wanted to hear. Right, David? They said, you have 92 seconds left. Going to be your next senator, I'll tell you. David McConnell. I hope you can vote for him. I hope you vote for him. I hope you vote for him. He's a great gentleman, great hero, actually, in many ways. He's a great guy. But so they gave me this thing, and they assumed I was going to turn it down. So I have the wrong network. I have the wrong anchors. I have no audience. I like an audience. I love people, you know. It's oftentimes a mistake. Everything was wrong. So what we'll do is we'll offer him this thing that he can't accept. He won't accept it. And then we'll say, Trump didn't accept the debate. He's afraid to negotiate against Biden because Biden's so sharp. You know, he's so sharp. He's sharp like a razor. So, but I surprised them. I said, I'll take it. I'll take it. And people said, are you crazy? I said, look, it's the only way you're going to debate. If we do anything else, they're not going to accept it. And these people are the same way. They offered me, we were supposed to have Fox on September 4th, and they said, no. I accepted it. I don't even know what's going to happen because I've accepted it. They haven't. So maybe they show up, maybe they don't. But I think it's sort of on for September 4th, but I don't think they're going to come. And then we go and we do the debate with ABC. ABC, again, I call it ABC fake news. So bad. They're so bad. They're so dishonest, in my opinion, very dishonest people. But I find them to be the worst. And I'm a professional at this, you know, because I watch who treats me the worst. Now, NBC is horrible. CBS is horrible. They're all horrible. These are horrible human beings. But who treats me the worst? ABC fake news treats me the worst. And that's where they want it, where her best friend, it just came out the other day, nobody told anybody about this, is the head of the whole deal, right? But I'll probably say, I'll take it. Because you know what? They're not gonna do a debate. But just remember, these are phony, fake, disgusting people that hate our country. Remember that. And also remember that every attack that we make on Kamala is something that she said on tape or something that she's actually done. You know, all of these attacks are things because she said all of it. She said, I don't want fracking in Pennsylvania. She said it hundreds of times. I don't want it anywhere. Then a couple of months ago, when the polls are showing that she's getting clobbered, well, actually, nobody actually thought they were politically correct. They wanted to be politically correct because they wanted, you know, they had 11 different people, and they put her name in to be number 12, and they had a vote. She came in last. So she picked somebody. Think of it. How about the guy she picked? How bad is he? Right? How bad is that guy?
He's the worst.
David, where did these people come from? You know, he recently signed a bill in a state that I love, but a state that hasn't been won by a Republican because it's a corrupt state. But the people are not corrupt. The people are great. Since 1972 has it been won. Think of that. And I thought we won it twice. I said, there's no way we lose Minnesota. But he signed a bill for all young men's bathrooms and men's bathrooms have to be equipped with a tampon selling machine. And she turned down your governor. By the way, just so you understand, I know some of you probably like him. I don't think he's a good person. I don't think he's good. I don't think he's good. But they turned him down because he's Jewish, okay? That's why they turned him down. Now, we can be politically correct and not say that. I could say, well, they turned him down for various reasons. No. They turned him down because he's Jewish. That's why they turned him down. And I'll tell you this, any Jewish person that votes for her or a Democrat has to go out and have their head examined. Because if you see what's happening with Israel and Jewish people right now, There has never been a more dangerous time since the Holocaust. If you happen to be Jewish in America, there's never been anything like it. I'm seeing things I can't even believe it. And we want to bring about unity and peace and everything else. It looks like they're going to have nothing but riots out there in Chicago. It's really a sad thing, but they turned him down for that reason, and they turned him down for a couple of other reasons too, but the primary reason was that he's Jewish. And you don't think I know what goes on in their campaign? I know it well. I know it very well. She's a nation wrecker who is more liberal than crazy Bernie Sanders. You know crazy Bernie? He's pretty bad, right? She is substantially more radicalized than crazy Bernie. You cannot have her as your president. She ruined San Francisco. She ruined the state of California. You know, she was the district attorney and she was the attorney general of the state. I heard the other day, and this isn't anything, I'm just saying, they'll say he was rambling. I don't ramble. I'm a really smart guy, you know, really smart. I don't ramble. But the other day, anytime I hit too hard, they say he was rambling. Rambling. You know, I get up and I make a speech. I go for sometimes 2 hours, 2.5 hours, because, you know, people are waiting outside for 3 days, 4 days. You guys were waiting out there for a long time. Front row Joes are waiting out. I don't know how you guys do it. And I feel I have an obligation to speak and speak in a certain way and speak a little bit longer. You know, how would you like it? A guy's waiting with his family for 3.5, 4 days. They have a tent, and the tent is set up. They have hundreds of them, and they wait. And then I walk in, speak for 15 minutes, and leave. I don't know, somehow. Would that be okay, North Carolina? I don't think so, right? They want me to speak all day. You know, when I leave, I did one 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I'm leaving, and they're screaming, "No, sir, more. We want to hear more." I said, "I can't. I can't speak more. What the hell else am I going to say? Our country's going to hell. That's all I can say. We're a nation in decline." You know, we were talking about that before. My phrases are copied so much, right? I use the term oftentimes in closing, we are a nation in decline. We are a failed nation. And I think it's a beautiful phrase, although I don't like the topic very much. I don't like what it represents, but there's a certain beauty. All of a sudden, all of these candidates, including Republicans, are saying we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. And I say, you know, what the hell do they have to copy me for, right? But they have a lot of words that they copy. Many of our words, we were in the plane before coming in, and our people said, we went through a list. I think we're going to release a list. Let's release it. But so many of our phrases they copy. I should be, really, that should be a nice thing, not an insult. But crazy Bernie Sanders has said a lot of things, and one of the things he's arguing about is who's more liberal. And after about 2 minutes, he gave up. He said, this woman is nuts. Look, people say, be nice. Have you heard her laugh? That is the laugh of a crazy person. That is the laugh of a crazy. It's the laugh of a lunatic. Have you heard it? You know, they prohibited her. They prohibited her for laughing. I've been waiting for her to laugh because as soon as she laughs, the election's over. But we're winning by a lot in Pennsylvania. I think the fracking got her. The fracking got her. But she has been prohibited from laughing. You know, she used to do an interview. She who the hell laughs at an interview like that? You know, I'm interviewed all the time. I may smile. I mean, they're asking you questions about things that it's not really it's not like a comedy club. And she'd break out. That's one of the reasons she refuses to do interviews, I think, because she laughs. It's so horrible. No, it's so horrible. But you know, she hasn't done an interview like in 30 days or something like that. And I do one every day. If I pass, I just did one backstage. I just did one backstage with a very good reporter. But you're supposed to, don't you sort of have an obligation? You know, you're running. They're going to try, this is her form of the basement. Now, the basement for him was good because, you know, they had COVID. They didn't want him to catch COVID.
All right. Yeah, let me jet in here really quick. So one of the key things that people are complaining about, even people on the right, about Trump is he rants or he has a tangent. What I find funny is he did this back in 2016. I mean, people act like this is new. This is who he is. And the reality is, when you try to fight someone on who they are, you lose every time. And here's what it's going to come down to. All he needs to do is show up to the debate and do exactly what we need him to do. Is if they hold the debate exactly the way that they did CNN, he will win the debate. I mean, it's just, she cannot answer questions unscripted, right? So he doesn't need to get into an argument with her. That will not work to his benefit. Him trying to fight her on abortion rights, he will lose. So he doesn't need to do that. All he needs to do is show up to the debate, answer the questions that obviously will not work in his favor. He needs to turn those around and put the pressure on her and call it a day. As long as he does that, the election is his. Because most people do not know who she is. They know of her because they see her in ads, they see her on social media, they see her through the propaganda news channels, but they still do not know what she stands for. So the debate is probably going to be the most important time besides the election day where we get to finally see what she's all about. And my money is on the fact that she's going to do what she's always done, because you can't change people, right? She's going to do what she's always done. She's going to fumble her words. She's going to say this or that, and she's going to look bad. And all Trump has to do is let her do. All he has to do is treat her like he treated Biden. Just let Biden fall on his sword. Let her fall on her sword. He doesn't need to force that to happen. As long as that happens, it will be all good. Let's see what they're doing.
And yeah, I am radical. We need to get radical about what we are doing.
Oh, yeah. He's showing the Kamala Harris ad. Yeah, so that's what needs to happen. The rambling, listen, nobody's perfect. It is what it is. All right. Let's see here. What else? Trump has more policy strengths than Harris. He needs to stick on policy. Yes, he does. But this rally is in Pennsylvania. The rally is a bunch of what? Trump supporters. It's when he goes and he does the town hall or press conferences that he really needs to stay on message, right? This rally is more about the base, showing his support for the base. That's what this is more about. Independents are not at this rally. Independents are not watching this rally. I mean, come on, let's be honest, people. But what they will do is watch like the local press conferences. What they will do is watch the town halls and the debates. That's where they're going to watch. So we have to really see what the bigger picture is. Yeah, I understand, Mark. If they do what they did with CNN, it will be over for her. I really do believe that. All right, let's get back here.
In the history of our country, we left billions of dollars, 13 great soldiers killed, think of it, left many hostages, many people have been left behind. But think of what happened there. We got out in disgrace. We should have gotten out with strength. I was getting out. We would have been out even sooner, but strength, dignity. We would have kept Bagram, the big air base. You know who occupies Bagram right now? China, because it was 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons, not because of Afghanistan, but because of China.
Yep.
But China occupies it right now. Thank you very much, President Xi. Enjoy our billions of dollars of construction that took place years ago. They spent billions of dollars many years ago. 1 hour away, think of that, where they make their nuclear weapons. It's so embarrassing, the stupidity of the people that have run our country, but we did things the opposite way. We were very smart. We were very respected. We're a respected country. They respected your leader, your elected leader. But remember this. Viktor Orban of Hungary, Prime Minister of Hungary, they asked him pretty recently, they said, what's going on? The world is coming to an end. He said, if you want to stop it, re-elect the United States, re-elect Donald Trump, because when he was there, we didn't have any problems. We didn't have problems. Russia wouldn't have happened with Ukraine.
Yeah, I just want to continue on this really quick, guys. Here's the reality. Trump is damned if he does do exactly what everybody's telling him to do, and he's damned if he doesn't, right? So let's really look at this really quick. So he talks about policy like 80% of the time, but the 20% of the time where he goes on a rant and calls it how it is, That's what everybody wants to focus on. Oh, he keeps talking. He keeps doing personal attacks. Yeah, but what about the majority of the press conference or the rally where he was talking about policy the whole time? See, people listen to what they want to listen to. They hear what they want to hear. And to expect that he's only going to say policy and not say anything else is like wanting him to be a robot. That's not who he is. And guess what? The same thing applies to Kamala Harris, right? They don't want her going out there and doing things unscripted. But she's going to have no choice to, and she's going to mess up too. She's not a robot either. They would love if these people were robots and they would say exactly what they want them to say. But that's not politics. That's never been public speaking. It just isn't. It just doesn't happen that way. President Obama, that is who he is. He is a natural, great public speaker. That's just who he is. You know, it just is what it is. But unfortunately, people, you know, they get up in arms about everything. About how he talks and all this other stuff because they're so emotional. And at the end of the day, like I've stated, the independents, they're not watching these rallies, okay? They're watching the press conferences, they're watching the town hall and the debate. They're too busy with their lives, okay? That's what it is. So people just need to chillax and understand that President Trump did not get to where he is today. You know, I give him the benefit of the doubt. He did win the election back in 2016, so obviously he probably knows what he's doing to a certain extent.
I understand you're charging our companies a lot of money. Oh, well, you know, this has been in the works for many years, Donald. And yes, it is done. It is really done. There's nothing we can do about it. I said, okay, good. Emmanuel, here's the story. If you don't get rid of that tax within 24 hours, starting on Monday morning, it was a Friday, I'm going to charge every bottle of wine and champagne that you send into our country. I'm going to charge you a tariff of 100% on every bottle, and you will not be sending too many bottles of champagne and wine. And he said, Donald, that is not fair. That is not fair. I said, no, it's not fair for you to be charging American companies to do business in your country. No, it's not fair, Emmanuel. Emmanuel, get back to me in 5 minutes and let me know. He called me back in 2 minutes. He said, Donald, we have decided that we will not be charging you any taxes for the American company. No reason. I did so many of them. I did so many. I could stand up here all day and tell you different stories. I just used the telephone. I could stop the war with a telephone. I could stop what's happening in the Middle East with a couple of telephone calls properly played. Horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. We have people that are, they're babies. In many ways, I guess they're stupid, you know. People say, please don't use bad language. Please don't call people stupid. They're stupid people. How else do you describe it? I want to use a different word, a more sophisticated word than stupid, but there's no word, it's a perfect word. They're stupid people. I think they're also, by the way, if I might, they're also corrupt. They really are, they're corrupt. They get a lot of money from a lot of people. We're not going to let this socialist lunatic, and she's a socialist lunatic, that's the other thing. Please, sir, please don't call her a lunatic. I said, but that's what she is. She's a lunatic. She's a lunatic. She's going to destroy our country. And she's going to break our economy even more than it's broken. We have a broken economy. Our supply chain is gone. You know, you order something now. I don't know how many of you are in business, or even if you're ordering as a personal order, the order doesn't come. The supply chain is broken. Who ever thought of it? We never even talked about supply chain. Supply chain just worked. And because of what they've done, they've broken our supply chain. On Election Day, we're going to tell her that we've had enough. We said, Kamala, you are a horrible vice president. You're going to be a horrible president. We're not going to take it anymore. Kamala, you're fired. Get out of there. You're fired. Not going to take it anymore, Kamala. We're not going to take it anymore. We have a country to save. And how about the fake news? Oh, look at them all back there. Look at all those cameras. Look at all those cameras. Wow.
All right, so I found the ad that he was playing during the rally. I want to play it for you guys because, you know, again, people are like, oh, well, he's not talking about policy. Okay. But this is the ad they're running in Pennsylvania right now on the TV. So let's just look at that really quick. This is what these people are seeing, okay? Here we go. Let's listen to it really quick.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
The alarming spike in inflation soaring to its highest level in nearly 40 years.
That is called Bidenomics.
Gas prices rose again today, reaching a new all-time high.
We're still dealing with inflation, and we've got super high interest rates at the same time.
Bidenomics is working.
2/3 of Americans are just struggling to make ends meet.
And this comes after Friday's jobs report showing a spike in unemployment.
And we are very proud of Bidenomics.
I'm Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, so, you know, there's a lot of stuff happening that people don't see, you know. I don't watch regular television, so I would never see these ads anyway. But there are a lot of people who do, and yeah. So they are focusing on these policy issues. They are focusing on the economy as far as the advertising goes, as far as when J.D. Vance speaks. So they're doing a great job. I mean, it is what it is. People are not stupid. They know the economy is in the dumpster for them. They know that. What they're trying to figure out is, who is Kamala Harris? Is she someone that I should strongly consider to vote for? I'm talking about people who are on the fence. They cannot make that determination until they see her go up against him during a debate. So we're only like, 3 weeks into this. And everything's going to be fine. Let's just wait till the debate, and then we'll really see what's going on.
A woman beautiful, because that'll be the end of your political career. Please. I want to make your life much easier, David. By the way, he's also got a great wife, I have to say. He's got a great wife. But, I mean, I read a so-called Republican who Ronald Reagan didn't like, by the way, and she didn't like him, but she got credit for being this Reagan speechwriter. Highly overrated. I don't know anything about her. I don't know her. Treats me badly, but that's okay. She called it wrong. She's called it wrong now for about 8 years. But she said one thing that got me. She said Kamala has one big advantage. She's a very beautiful woman. She's a beautiful woman. So I decided to go back and reread the clause. I'm not saying he's, but I say that I am much better looking than her. I think I'm much better looking. Much better. I'm a better looking person than Kamala. No, I couldn't believe it. She said, I had never heard that one. They said, no, her biggest advantage is that she's a beautiful woman. I'm going, I never thought of that. I'm better looking than she is. In her speech yesterday, Kamala went full communist. You heard that? She went full communist. She wants to destroy our country. After causing catastrophic inflation, Comrade Kamala announced that she wants to institute socialist price controls. You saw that. Never worked before, never ever worked. This is the Maduro plan, Venezuela. Maduro plan of like the old Soviet Union. They tried it. How did the Soviet Union work out? It became Russia, a smaller version. It was a smaller version. It will cause rationing, hunger, and skyrocketing prices, just like their Inflation Reduction Act caused, one of the great scams of all time. They got it approved with a beautiful name, Inflation Reduction, because inflation under their system has been so bad. It's gone up much more than 50%. They say 30, 40, 50, much more. People are being devastated. They're being devastated. But it's gone way up. way up. And they made a big mistake. Yesterday in her speech, I think she said, I had to play it back. You know, I love the playback controls you have nowadays. They used to call it TiVo, now they have TiVo, I think it's the single greatest invention. It's better than television, because television would drive you crazy if you couldn't do a playback, right? Now I can play back. I heard the statement, and I heard that statement that she made, and I said, you know, she made a statement yesterday that from her time in office, essentially, prices have gone up by 50%, something like. I said, did she just say that? I said, that speechwriter is going to be fired. In fact, we took that section and we actually made a commercial on it, and we got the best commercial of the week, and we didn't do anything. We just played her back. But here's the problem. The things that she said yesterday don't work. They have never worked. They've never been used many times before in many other countries. They've never worked. They've just never worked. They've been used oftentimes, many countries, and in every single event, it ruined those countries. It's a communist system. It's what her father, a Marxist, he was a Marxist, it's what her father taught her from a young girl growing up. She's promising to hand out things she can't deliver. She can never deliver them. She'll never get them approved. Just like when she and Crooked Joe tried to give away student debt. Remember, she wanted to pay. How did that work out? Not too good. The students are saying, I love him because of student debt, but he got rejected. And this will be rejected even more so, because what they're doing is a communist takeover of our country. Her plan is very dangerous because it may sound good politically, and that's the problem. And we have to be very careful, because when somebody gets up and says, we're going to give you everything, $25,000 for a house, we're going to give you all sorts of little goodies, free health care, we're going to give you everything, universal health care, it sounds so beautiful. And I told my people, you got to be very careful. I told the Republican Party, you have to be very careful. She's given all this away, and somebody that really isn't into it, you know, we're largely, even groups like this, we're into it. We think about it all the time. We want to take back our country. We want to save our country. When somebody's given, and you understand how bad this stuff is. This is communist, this is Marxist, this is fascist. But you know what? It's dangerous, because she's saying that she's going to give away things that she'll never be able to get approved. She wants to increase the number of justices on the United States Supreme Court to 27. 27. I used to hear she was going up to 11, and then I heard it was 13, but then they said that's an unlucky number, so they went to 15. Yesterday, for the first time, I heard 27. We'll have to rebuild the entire Supreme Court because they won't have enough room for the judges. They won't have enough. And by the way, how courageous were our justices of the United States Supreme Court? What they did, they're saving our country. They're actually saving our country. What they've done is, I mean, they passed things that were so important, and they did it for the right, not for the wrong. They did the right thing. They did the right thing, and I just have such respect for them. The job they've done against, and you know, the radical left plays the ref. You know the great Bobby Knight, he supported me. He used to fight with the referees all the time, scream at him, Bobby, please, don't do that. It's not going to work. He said, you're right, it's not going to work now, it's going to work for the next one. And the next call, there'd be a flagrant foul, and they wouldn't call it. They didn't want to get screamed at. The radical left harasses our judges and harasses our justices. They scream at them, they call them names, they say they're incompetent, they're horrible, they're this, they're...
Yeah, I had this conversation earlier with my wife. I was saying it's funny how if you, let me see if I can show it to you guys. You guys will be entertained by this, okay? I had some people call me a coon on X earlier by me asking just one simple question. There it is right here. So there's this black woman who, she went on CNN before. She's a Republican. And anyways, so I follow her on X. She doesn't really post that often. Anyways, so this clown posts that, she's involved in Project 2025, you know, blah, 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 blah. And then I put, and your point is what? Like, what are you trying to say? You know, just because somebody is involved in Project 2025, I mean, what does that mean exactly? You know, like, there's so many ways someone could be involved in it. They could be involved in it indirectly, directly. Like, what do you mean? Anyways, then someone put, go coon somewhere else, right here, right? And this is an example what people on the left will do is, like, they're overly emotional. I don't care if someone is going to vote for Kamala Harris. Like, I'm not losing sleep. I'm not going to go out of my way to call them names. Like, I got other stuff to focus on, right? Anyways, and then this guy put, he needs to call his coon recruiter and see what's up with his contract. Yeah, it just shows you, you know, the mindset of people on the left. So I thought I'd just share that with you guys, because that's what we deal with today in America is they're just so triggered easily, and it's really sad.
They give you things that you've never heard before, and this is true. I believe they are playing the ref. They're constantly criticizing some of our greatest justices and a lot of great judges. You know, I kept hearing so much about the Florida case because, you know, they weaponized our system, our government totally weaponized it. First time it's ever happened. And they said, my biggest case is in Florida, Florida, Florida. And we had a very brilliant, I don't know the judge, but a fair and very brilliant judge who took tremendous abuse. Would have been so easy for her to just rule against me. But she didn't do that. She threw out the whole case. It was thrown out. That was a big case. And I have such respect for her. Because she is, in fact, brilliant. But they were hitting her so hard. She's going too slow. She's that. She should be removed immediately from office. These people are horrible. I really think it's illegal what they do with judges and justices. They're playing the ref, no different than Bobby Knight, and he was great. He endorsed me, and Indiana was mine. He was a great coach. He's the last coach to go undefeated. I guess he was like 38-0. For some reason, they've never had another college team since then. That was many years ago, and he came out in favor of Donald Trump, and it was a big thing. I won Indiana by a landslide, because when Bobby Knight from Indiana endorses you, you win. Sort of like when I endorse you, you win too. We have a very good record of endorsement. But we can't let these radical left thugs constantly scream at our judges and say we're going to impeach him, we're going to take him out of office, or her, we're going to do horrible things to him. Continuous. When you heard Schumer get up on the stairs of the courthouse, Supreme Court, and talk about, Kavanaugh, we're going to get you, Kavanaugh, we're going to hit you, or whatever the hell he said. If a mobster said that, they'd be put in jail immediately. He frankly should have been put in jail, or certainly spoken to very strongly. He got lucky. He got lucky. He had a couple of guys that didn't want to do it, and I understand that also, but he got lucky. But you know, we can't let him do that, and I just want to pay my respect to the judges that have suffered abuse at the hands of the radical left lunatics, and I really admire them for being, because you know what? All they have to do to end it is rule against me or whatever it is. If they say, Trump, you're guilty. Oh, now all of a sudden they say, oh, that's the last time they ever say bad. But they can't do it because these people have weaponized the Justice Department, including local DAs and local attorney generals, and Fani, you know, Fani spelled F-A-N-I. My name is Fani, F-A-N-I. I don't figure it. She put a little French accent on the word with her lover Wade, right? Lover Wade, we call him, lover boy Wade. She hired him, paid him almost $1 million because of his great knowledge of the law. He never did it before. With us today is Daniel Campos, a pilot in Venezuela who now lives in Pennsylvania. Great gentleman. Daniel came to tell us what you think of Kamala Harris leading our country into socialism. We're being led into socialism, but the socialism will be short-lived. It's going into communism. if you would have told me, and if you remember.
All right, let me respond to some of your guys' comments here. Hey, DeVore, does anyone really know how upset the black people are in the city of Chicago about the Democratic Party and the funding of the food stamps on a monthly basis? I absolutely do. That's why I talk about if people truly did their research, they would know. Now, here's the thing about those people that live in Chicago. You know, the real story is going to come down to the election day. Who are they going to vote for? Because that speaks to, is it really that painful for them? Because it's one thing to bitch, moan, and complain, but if you don't stand up and vote or do something opposite, nothing will change. That's what my wish for the black community, from a political standpoint, is in one election, can you guys just vote Republican just to make a statement for the Democrats that you guys are no longer just going to buy into everything that the Democrats say, because black people have been programmed to vote Democrat for like since the 1960s because of the Civil Rights Act. You know, that's what it's been, right? And that's why I said at the beginning of this stream, these politicians don't really care about American citizens. They care about money and power. And the only time you're going to get their attention is when you impact that money and power. And you impact that money and power by voting differently. That's why Joe Biden got kicked out, because the polls were so bad for him. The black support got bad for him. Oh, they said, oh, wait a minute, we got to get him out. So the only way that people in Chicago are really going to change things is going to start with the way that they vote. They can continue to complain all they want, but it's not going to change until they stand up and say, hey, you know what? We are going to vote a Republican in. And that's going to make the Democrats in that area say, yeah, we can't, yeah, we shouldn't do that again, because now we're losing that support. So they've taken advantage of black people, and the only way that advantage can stop being taken care of or taken advantage of is voting differently. Let's see who has on stage.
For coming here and supporting the president.
Thank you. Because we're into that whole system, and I'd like to call up Daniel. Please come up and tell us about your experience in living in a country that went very, very bad, went radical left, and the experience has not been good. Please come up. Thank you. Hi, Daniel.
Appreciate it. All right. First of all, hi everybody. Thank you for coming here and supporting the president. I'm gonna say the first part of the speech, well, of my story in English, then I'm gonna repeat it in Spanish in order to allow our Latino voters to understand and hear what the situation is going on. First of all, as the president already said, I'm from Venezuela. I left the country in 2007 because of communism. I still have family there. There's been family that left that has left even before me, or are continuously living little by little. But going further back, my grandparents from my mom's side were from Cuba. They were at university when the communist revolution was going on, and they ended up leaving to Venezuela. They only had the money they received for their wedding present, and they were living in a mid-house, going to school, and trying to move ahead. My granddad ended up becoming a doctor and had a family raising 3 children, my mom and my 2 uncles. When in the early 1990s, Chavez did a military coup, and right after he ran for president, my granddad saw the similarities to what was happening in Cuba, and he told everybody that would listen to him that it was coming. And everybody was like, nah, this is Venezuela, this is not Cuba, this will never happen to us. And guess what? It happened to us, and has been happening to other Latin American countries as well. So when they tell you here, it will never happen, that's not true. We lived it, now here we are. So in 2007, we ended up leaving because the socialists and the government started changing the education system to make it more like the Cuban education system. It might ring a bell to what's going on here as well. So it's extremely important for everybody to keep this in mind. And if you don't mind, I'm going to switch to Spanish for our Latino speakers.
Sí.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let me respond to some of your comments while he's speaking in Spanish here, because I don't understand what he's saying. I love it. Let's see here. I don't stand. Yeah, let me respond to this. I don't understand how black people don't see straight through her. So here's what's happening. This has been going on for probably the last. This has been going on for the last 30 years in the black community, where the wave of feminism has pretty much killed the nuclear family in when it comes to black people. So what that means is women have been programmed, black women in particular, have been programmed to believe that they don't need a man, that they need to be the boss, and that it's actually a great idea to get a PhD instead of getting married and having kids. Now, that doesn't mean getting a PhD is a negative thing. It's a great thing. But the problem, though, is that this has been tearing up the black community for many, many years now. And it's now to a point where black men and black women do not get along. It's just what it is. And part of it is our fault because we feed into these stereotypes. Part of it is the feminism rhetoric that is programming our young black women to think this way. If you were to walk up to, it doesn't even matter if they're black. If you walk up to any Gen Zer, they're not interested in getting married and they're not interested in having kids because they've been fed this lie that having kids and being married is more of a negative than it is a positive. So anyways, I say all that to say this is what's happening in the black community when it comes to this election. The women are all in on Kamala Harris. The men are all in on Donald Trump. That's exactly what's going on. And it's just really sad to see it that way, but it's kind of what it is. Let's see. Super chat from Dividend Dave says, if you want to earn dividends like Dividend Dave, vote for Trump. I agree. Let's see here. The YouTube women in college indoctrination, the black women, then the YouTube women go get married while black women say they don't need a man. Exactly. I mean, if you were to look at white women, Asian women, even Mexican women, all types, they're usually getting married earlier than black women are. You know, it just is what it is. And that's what I'm saying is this election has already shown that. This is the women are going to turn out for Trump, or excuse me, for Kamala Harris. And then Trump needs to turn out the blue collar workers, black men, and everyone else in between, especially the independent vote. Let's hop back in here.
We can't do it. So I really appreciate that. That was beautiful. It was so well done. Amazing. Thank you. In addition to defeating Kamala Harris, you need to defeat your terrible Democrat Senator Bob Casey. You know, I've been in Washington for a long time. I mean, I barely met the guy. You know, most of these guys I get to meet in one form or another, for better or worse. I hardly know this guy. I never really remember meeting him. He obviously created a great impression, but he's not a hard worker. He's cruising on his father's past. I met the father. I think I knew the father better than I knew the son. But Bob Casey voted for every bill that caused the worst inflation in the history of our country, in my opinion. They call it decades, but I believe it's the history of our country because they're not using the real things. Like mortgage rates went from 2% to 10%. They don't say that. That's inflation. They don't say that. And you can't get any money at 10% either. We had it down to 2 and 2.4, 2.5%. And now you can't get the money at 10%. They don't have any money. He voted to open borders and the war on Pennsylvania energy. You know, Bob Casey voted against all of this stuff, against your state, but you don't know because, you know, you have other jobs. You're not watching Bob Casey. That's why you need to fire Bob Casey, and you have to elect a man named David McCormick for the U.S. Senate. Dave is strong on borders, great on taxes. He wants to reduce your taxes. You know, all my life, I've been involved, usually from the other side. It's called writing checks.
Listen to this.
But I've been involved. I've made lots of contributions to politicians all my life. And politicians always talk about, we will lower your taxes. That's all they talked about is lowering taxes. This is the only group I've ever seen where they say, we are going to increase your taxes. Yeah. I've never heard of it before. And by 4 times. I gave you the biggest tax cut in the history of our country, and bigger than the Reagan tax cuts. And they expire in a few months, and they want to not renew them. If that's the case, you're going to pay 4 times the tax that you're paying right now, and then they, on top of that, want to increase your taxes to pay for the Green New Scam. You know what the Green New Scam is? The oceans will rise 1/8 of an inch over the next 400 years. But they don't talk about a madman that's building nuclear missiles right now. That's your real global warming. It's not this. Your global warming is war. Your global warming is going to be nuclear weapons. Nobody talks about that. They don't ever mention it, but they talk about an ocean that's rising, which will give you slightly more beachfront property if it happens. Now think of it. But they don't talk about somebody that's got very evil intentions. Look at Iran. I stopped them from building a nuclear weapon, but this guy is going to give it up. He's going to give it up. So David McCormick, and I've known him for a long time. He's an amazing man.
All right. I want to show you guys these tax cuts really quick because there's a lot of misinformation about this, and I want to at least just say it out loud for you guys in case you run into some clown who's trying to push back on you when it comes to this. So it is a fact that he has given Americans the biggest tax cuts than any other president. That is a fact. And if you see here where it says the top rate when it comes to income tax was 39%, it dropped to 37%. The 33% bracket dropped to 32%. The 28% bracket dropped to 24%. The 25% bracket dropped to 22%. The 15% bracket dropped to 12%. And the lowest bracket remained at 10%. So what does that say? That says that everybody got a tax cut pretty much, right? And then he also brought down the corporate tax rate, which is why they keep saying, oh, he bailed out these billionaires. You know, he gave billionaires the biggest tax cut. And then the other thing you're going to hear from the media is, well, his tax plan is going to cause the deficit to rise by $2 trillion or whatever. Okay, the reason why they're saying that, if you think about it, we go back here. The reason why they're saying that is because the way the government makes money is obviously through tax revenue. So if he gives a tax cut, then obviously the revenue goes down. But I told you guys already, the government is a business. Why can't they find another way to make money, which we can? All they need to do is tap into the oil and start really becoming the #1 producer and the #1 seller for that. And just do that. They can make so much money off that. That's just one of many ways the government can make money. It's just about whether or not they truly want to run the government like a true business, or they want to run the government that works in the best interest of their donors, their pockets, their power. That is really the difference here. So I wanted to give that to you guys because it's all misinformation. The media is going to try to keep saying that, you know, he's going to add more money to the deficit, but it's not just him. It's the politicians in Washington.
Only God will get me out, right? Isn't that what he said? Only God. And within about 24 hours, he announced that he was going to get out. And he won it. He went through a primary system. She didn't. He beat her in the primary. She ran along with 22 people. She ran. She was the first one out because she was no good. She was no good. And now she's running. And this is not what our country is all about. And he feels terrible, and he's a very angry man. I watched him yesterday. He's a very angry man. I think he hates them more than he hates Donald Trump, and that's hard to believe. I really do. He's an angry man, and he should be an angry man. They walked in, and they stole the presidency of the United States from him. Now, I think he was a terrible president. I think he was the worst president in the history of our country. I think that Jimmy Carter is the happiest man on earth today. He's not a young man, because Jimmy Carter's presidency was brilliant by comparison to this. But she was a big part of it, and she's going to be an even bigger part. Now she wants to give our whole country away. And just as Daniel and others have said, I mean, our country's going to die, and yet it's scary because she's given so much away. I mean, who's not going to vote to get some money for a house? It's never going to happen. It's trillions of dollars. It's never going to happen. But who's going to vote? I mean, people will maybe vote for this. I said before, it may be good politics, but it's going to destroy our country. The Washington Post, one of the most evil print journalism. They've lost a lot of people over the last couple of years. It's nasty. They came out with an editorial excoriating her. Actually, I spoke with Jeff Bezos just for almost the first time. I met him once before, and he was so complimentary on the way we handled the horrible situation that took place recently, and I appreciated that. But we talked a little bit about the paper, and their radical left paper. They excoriated her in today's editorial, excoriated her. And I give the Washington Post tremendous credit. I believe the New York Times did or is about to do the same thing. But when they're going after somebody because they're far, it's not even left. Every single country that's done this, it's been done many times because it's so easy to say, I'm going to give you this, I'm going to give you that, we're going to put price controls on food. How do they do that? We're going to say the beans are going to cost this, cereal's going to cost. Does it work? And what happens is you end up with huge inflation and no product because you can't make it anymore because they lose money hand over fist. So it doesn't work. But it's scary because sometimes people vote for it because it sounds good. It sounds good, but it's really bad. We're going to give you tax cuts. We're going to give you additional tax cuts. We made our country wealthy. We made our country better than it had ever been before. And we did it. We did it. We had, the big difference is we had a man serving for 3.5 years with her at his side. And we had us, and prior, we did a great job on COVID, never got the credit. I got great credit for the economy, in all fairness to the fake news. I got great credit for the economy, great credit for the military. We defeated ISIS. We had no new wars. We rebuilt our military. Think of that. We came up with a new and very important organization, to put it mildly. First time since the Air Force, almost 80 years, Space Force. And we took space where we were languishing to China, falling way behind China and Russia. We took space, and now we're dominating them. We put some incredible people in there. Space Force has been so important. It'll end up being one of our truly important, already is. I mean, it's coordinating with this, but we created Space Force. We did so many things, right to try, medically, right to try. If you're terminally ill, you had no right to get medicine. Now you sign a document. They tried to get that for 58 years. 58 years they were unable to get it. I sat everybody down, the labs, the doctors, the insurance companies, and the country, because they didn't want to be sued. Somebody's terminally ill, they take something, they die, and then the family sues them for killing the mother, the father, the sister, the brother. And I said, no, you're going to sign a document, and you're not going to sue anybody, but you're going to go home, and you're going to have the greatest drugs in the world that won't be approved for another 4 or 5 years, are terminally ill. And we have saved thousands and thousands of lives. Thousands. So we did a lot, and we have a lot of other things planned. Oh, by the way, all of that great work done. We have the greatest lab technicians, the greatest doctors, the greatest laboratories in the world. All of that under her system gets wiped out. They're close to a lot of great cures. I worked very hard on that. I also worked very hard on the FDA, getting them to bring it down, because it was going to take an average of 12 years to get something approved. I got it down to 5. I wanted to get it down to 2, but things have to happen. But we got it way, way down, and we came up with things. And we have thousands of people that are living today that were considered terminally ill just a short while ago. It's one of the things I'm most proud of. It's called Right to Try. And hopefully nobody in this room needs it. But if you do, you don't have to go to Asia. You don't have to go to Europe. Or if you have no money, you go home and you die. That's what happens. Mostly people don't have any hope. They go home and die. Now you have Right to Try, and thousands of people are living right now that would not be living. We're also pleased to be joined by a very special man, a friend of mine who's been a warrior from day one, Dan Muser, Congressman Dan Muser. Thank you, Dan. Great job. Mrs. Muser, thank you. What a great...
All right, really quick. So, who was it? It was Queen Forever, right? So Queen Forever says, hi, DeVore, we need Trump to win, and this is not just the USA. The world needs him to win. Caribbean people need him to win. It's rough out here. Which leads me to what I just put in the chat. So if you're watching this live stream and you're not registered to vote, what are you doing? You have to be registered. So click on the link in the chat there. You can go to the website, vote.gov, and all you have to do is select your state, and then what it will do is it'll just take you probably to that website right here. Boom. So let's say I was from Delaware. It's going to take me to Delaware's website, and I'll be able to vote like that. Boom. So it's really easy. A lot of people, it's hard for black people to register to vote. Democrats are so racist with that stuff. They have a hard time getting voter ID. I mean, golly, man, these people are crazy. But the only way we're actually going to really be successful in this election is making sure that, one, you are registered to vote and your friends are registered to vote. And even if they're like, no, I'm not registered yet, I don't know how, just pull it up on your phone right then and there, vote.gov, and just help them through it. It takes like a few minutes at most. So that right there will make the world a difference. And the other reason why it's very important to do this, get them registered, because what will happen is they will receive reminders that the election is coming. They will receive reminders on to cast their ballot. So if they don't register, they're not going to get a particular reminder via email, phone, or in their mail. So it's very important to do that. And I will say this, and we'll get back into this really quick. Republicans have actually done a better job since 2020 of getting Republicans to register. We've actually had more Republicans registered than the Democrats have since 2020. So credit to the Republicans on that. All right, let's hop back in here.
We had another miracle happen about 4 weeks ago, too. But this was a big miracle, and they found millions of votes. They found a lot of votes. But they didn't do that in North Carolina, where he was the head of the Republican Party. And I said, who is that guy? His name is Michael Whatley, and we appointed him the head of the RNC, the Republican National Committee. And he is doing a fantastic job, really, really a great job. Thank you very much. He's going to keep their cheating down to a minimum, right? Maybe nothing, but, we know them better. They won't stop. They won't stop. We have an expression, too big to rig, right? Too big to rig. And we're leading by a lot, even though we now have to run against somebody. Think of it, I spend $100 million? Now I have to run against somebody else. Is that fair? I think they should reimburse me for the $100 million. Who wants to collect? Does anybody want to go and collect? I'll get front row Joe to collect. The mayor, who's really a wonderful man, by the way. Mr. Mayor, it was good meeting you. Carl Curran. Thank you, Carl. Thank you very much. Thank you, Carl. Good man. New York's Broome County DA, Paul Battisti. Paul Battisti. Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Good job you're doing. I wish you were in Manhattan. It would be very... We could use a good one in Manhattan. And Lackawanna County Commissioner Chris Shermack. Chris? Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris. Good job. On my first day back in the Oval Office, I will immediately sign an executive order directing every cabinet secretary and agency head to use every power we have to drive prices down. But we're going to drive them down in a capitalist way, not in a communist way. At the center of this effort will be to end Kamala's war on American energy, and we will drill, baby, drill. We're going to get your energy prices down. We're going to get your energy prices down by 50%. The Kamala presidency will mean death for Pennsylvania energy. Remember that. It'll mean death for Pennsylvania energy. Kamala imposed a natural gas export ban to cripple Pennsylvania energy producers. You do know that she's against this whole energy thing that you have going, which is by far the most important thing you have from an economic standpoint, a job standpoint. She's against it. Kamala supports a carbon tax on the working class, and she's vowed that she will ban fracking, which means 423,000 plus at least 150,000 jobs beyond that. Pennsylvania is going to always be fracking because we desperately need the energy and we desperately need the jobs. But she will end it. She will end it. In addition, your state and local government will be starved of billions of dollars in oil and gas revenue, which means higher taxes, lower property values, worse schools, and plunging quality of life in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that I love. I've spent a lot of time here. I told you I went to school here, the Wharton School of Finance at Penn. Under my leadership, we will make America energy independent and energy dominant, and Pennsylvania energy workers will lead the way. You're going to lead the way. It's big stuff. To further combat inflation, I will terminate Kamala Harris's Green New Scam. It's the greatest scam maybe ever played. And rescind all of the unspent funds. We're going to take those unspent funds and use them for roads and bridges, and we're going to give back a lot of money into the Treasury and pay down debt. To make both new and used cars more affordable, I will end the Biden-Harris electric vehicle mandate on day one. One of the most ridiculous things. One of the most ridiculous things. Kamala now claims to want to cut red tape, but in less than 4 years, she's buried American families in regulations costing a typical household much more than $5,000 per year. Think of that, just with their red tape. I will cancel Kamala's crushing regulatory onslaught, and I will immediately eliminate every costly job. Now, just so you know, I cut regulations more than any president in history by far. By far. So you can't say to me, well, why didn't you do it? With me, you can't say that.
Exactly.
On anything. I did do it. Everything I said. You know, they said, promises made, promises kept. What I said, I kept. I mean, unless there was some crazy thing somewhere, but I got it done. I got it all done. Even the wall. I built hundreds of miles of wall, and I had to fight Congress. I had to fight the Senate like you wouldn't believe. I built hundreds of miles of wall. And I ended up taking it out and winning in court. We had 11 lawsuits by mostly Democrats like Nancy Pelosi. We had 11 different, we won every one of them. But think of it, I built the wall, I said, I'm taking it out of the military because our country's being invaded. This is an invasion of our country. And we built hundreds of miles of wall. Then we built and had made an extra 200 miles that we were going to use to expand it further than I ever said. And it was made and ready to be installed, and we had a rigged election. And what happened after that was they didn't want to do it, and they sold it for 5 cents on the dollar. 5 cents. Very sophisticated.
All right. Take a look at this, guys. I think you guys will get some value out of this. You guys will be encouraged to know this. GOP voter registration 4 times higher than Democrats in Pennsylvania. This was 4 days ago, by the way. It shows that GOP voter registration surged in July with more than 21,000 Republicans signing up to vote. In contrast, only 5,000 Democrats registered to vote. So that's really good news. It also shows that since November 2020, the number of Democrats registered to vote in the state has decreased by more than 320,000. Meanwhile, the number of Republicans registered to vote has also dropped, but by a much smaller margin with 1,400. Wow, that is a huge difference, right? Pennsylvania is among the 30 states, including the swing states of North Carolina, Nevada, Arizona, which registered voters are required to say what party they're affiliated with. Overall, this one I want to give you guys. Overall, 3 million fewer people are registered to vote now compared to November of 2020. Hold on, where was it at that I read? Oh, yeah, it was right here. Meanwhile, in 28 of the 30 states that require voters to register with a party, Republicans have more voter registrations than Democrats. Obviously, if you don't count Colorado and California. And for example, Florida has 1 million more Republican registered voters than Democrats. So that's encouraging, guys. Republicans have been really on it. You know, don't listen to the media. I mean, they're going to, you know, the media is doing a good job of trying to demoralize people who are supporting Trump. But if you just continue to look at the numbers, it's not adding up for them.
I will make the Trump tax cuts permanent, and we will have no tax on tips, which she copied. She copied. You all know by now she came out a few days ago and she said there will be no tax on I said that months ago. But here's one that she hasn't copied yet. To help seniors on fixed incomes who are suffering the ravages of horrible inflation caused by Crooked Joe and Kamala, there will be no tax on Social Security. So get out. And I get it done. I will get it done. They won't. They haven't even promised it to you, but they won't get it done if they do. And I will always protect Social Security and Medicare for our great seniors, just as I did for 4 incredible years. By contrast, Kamala Harris has a 3-step plan to destroy Medicare and Social Security. She's going to destroy your Medicare. She's going to destroy your Social Security. First, she has thrown open our borders. Second, she is flooding our country with millions and millions of low-wage migrants and giving them welfare, free health care, food stamps, public benefits. And third, she wants to make them all citizens of the United States. Many of them coming from prison, many of them coming from mental institutions, and many are terrorists. She wants to make them citizens, dumping them onto Medicare and dumping them into your beautiful Social Security program. Remember, for 4 years, I saved Social Security. I never gave an increase. I never raised the age by 5 years, which is what they're going to end up doing. With me, it's staying the way it is. We have a lot of ways we're making money. We don't need to take it away from our seniors. The millions of illegal aliens pouring in under border czar. She was the border czar, right? She was the border czar. Now, about a month ago, she said, I wasn't the border czar. She was the border czar. But it doesn't matter. She was in charge of the border, 100%. But border czar Harris are coming in from the worst places, some of the most dangerous countries in the world. And as I said, they're emptying out their jails and prisons, and they're emptying out their mental institutions, and they're dumping them into our country. What's happening to our country is shocking. It's unacceptable, and we have no choice. We're going to do the largest deportation in the history of our country. We have no choice. Just this week in Coney Island, 2 Kamala migrants were arrested for the rape of a 46-year-old woman, throwing her to the ground and raping her with a knife to her throat. She thought they were going to kill her. She said they weren't looking to rape me, they were looking to kill me. And it was a terrible thing. One of them had previously been arrested for raping another woman at a migrant shelter. But he was shielded from deportation by New York City's sanctuary laws, which Kamala Harris strongly supported and doesn't want to change. In Virginia, 3 weeks ago, a 54-year-old mother of 4 was leaving a 7-Eleven when she noticed an illegal alien trying to steal her car. When she tried to stop him, he ran her down and left her dead on the ground before going on to hit 2 more cars, killing 2 other drivers. And in May, the leader of a Peruvian gang known as Los Killers was released from Border Patrol custody and set free into America. And Kamala's direct orders, she said, set him free! Meanwhile, he was wanted for 23 murders in Peru. Kamala refuses even to call these criminals, and we're not going to use the term, she said, illegal aliens. No, they are illegal aliens, but she said don't ever use that term But they're not just illegal aliens. Honestly, they're monsters. These are savage monsters. The Harris policy is to let thousands of migrant killers and rapists into our country. You know, she was asked the other day, but she didn't respond. We have detention centers where we have some of the worst criminals in the world in those detention centers from other countries, and not just South America. They come from Africa, they come from Asia, they come from the Middle East, they come from countries that are seriously crime-ridden. And those countries, the crimes are going way down. Like Venezuela, we talked about Venezuela before, and think about Venezuela, their crime is down 72%. They've gone to Caracas and they've gone to different places in Venezuela.
Real quick. So we have someone from Philly in the chat, Presidential Mike. Yeah, so my wife and I, we visited my best friend in Cherry Hill, and we went to go see the Philly love sign and the Rocky statue. And then I was like, hey, why would someone come to Philly? I mean, what does Philly have to offer? He's like, zero. There's nothing there. Yeah. All right. Yusuf says, all jokes aside, can you explain to me how you became a supporter of the GOP? This is for Mr. DeVory. Because results tell the story. It goes both ways. It's not even necessarily a supporter of the Republicans, because they got a lot of dirt and blood on their hands too. This is about supporting a businessman by the name of Donald Trump, because I believe Donald Trump is more likely to hire people in his cabinet, in his administration that will actually get things done, because that's what happened last time he was president. So it's not even a matter of if you're Republican or Democrat. It's more about, is this going to be where we put America first, where we put our citizens first? And what's happening right now is you have a group of people who are more sympathetic to migrants than they are with the people in their own community that are struggling. Hold on really quick. So you have those group of people, and then you have a group of people who just hate Trump. They just hate his personality. And then you have a group of people who are stuck in the past, like Nikki Haley, Mitt Romney, hardcore Republicans that will never change. And then you have people who are ultra progressive. They want socialism. They just won't say it out loud, but they do. They want the government to pay for everything. And so more like this time in history, it's not even Republican versus Democrat. It's literally people who are going for America first versus people who are more migrant, war first, socialism first, right? That's really where we are at. I mean, it's not even about, because again, the Republican Party is not the Republican Party of when George Bush was president. The Democrat Party is not the Democrat Party when President Obama was in office. It's not. Both of them are absolutely changed. And it's just a new era of politics. And it's really due to President Trump, where he has given attention and a voice to conservatives and people who are pro-America first. That hasn't happened in history. So, I mean, you can argue Ronald Reagan possibly, but yeah, so that's why I'm supporting his policies, because he's more likely to get them done versus other people. And that's why, you know, it's in my bio. You got to put God first, country, and your family. And if we do it in that order, this country would be better off. But the Democrats, they do not want to acknowledge God. They do not want to acknowledge what's wrong with our country. And they definitely do not care about the family, because the policies that they are supporting is killing the family. When we talk about education, when we talk about marriage, think about it. These migrants are more incentivized than people who get married. Make that make sense. These migrants are getting paid more money than people who have children. Make that make sense. The migrants are getting more money than veterans. Make that make sense. These migrants are getting paid more money than senior citizens on Social Security. That is a Democratic policy. That is not the Republicans. So, I mean, it's more about that, not about labels like GOP and all of that stuff. All right, let's hop back in.
Your kids aren't getting educated. Your kids are not getting educated. They're considered like secondary citizens. and this is Kamala and Joe to a lesser extent. Look, Joe's lost. Forget him. By contrast, I'm going to keep the Affordable Care Act unless we can do something much better. We'll keep it, but we can do much better. It's too expensive for the people. They can't afford it. It's lousy health care. If we can do something better, we're working on it. If we can do something better, but we will never let anybody touch it unless we have something better. We're going to deliver lower prices, lower drug costs, and new options that will dramatically reduce the crushing burden on all American patients. And Kamala and Crooked Joe, they try and take credit for $35 insulin, but I was the one that did the $35 insulin knockdown.
Yeah, that's a fact check. President Trump did an executive order to drop insulin to $35. Then Joe Biden takes over, and you know what he does? He does an executive order to repeal what Donald Trump did, and then he did another executive order to place the insulin back at $35. I mean, these are the games that they play. But if you don't do your research, you wouldn't know that, right? Let me respond to one comment I saw that was funny. Where's it at? He said, Trump did not hire great people last time. Are you freaking blind? Faith in proven failures. Biden is the worst, and Trump ain't the answer. Only simps back the person. Cycle around. Got it. Well, let's say that is true. Let's say Trump did not hire great people last time. Let's say that I am blind. Let's say that Biden is the worst and Trump is not the answer. Which president made this country better financially? Where were you financially? How was your taxes back when he was the president? How was the border back when he was the president? How was the foreign wars when he was the president? How was the inflation rate when he was the president? Let's talk about that. Let's just keep it at the facts. We don't have to get emotional about it. What does the result say? I don't care who he hires. All I care about at the end of the day, did he get the job done? And last time I checked, from 2016 to 2020, this country was better off than it was from 2020 to 2024. That right there, you cannot debate. That is a fact. Yeah, I don't care how we got here. I don't care how it happened. The results tell the story. Just is what it is. You can love it or hate it, but can't argue with it.
Crippled nation, and China gets all of these advantages in trade because they consider themselves to be a growing nation. Well, we're a growing nation too, and I did that already. I will pass what will be known as the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. If China or any other country makes us pay 100 or 200% tariff, we will make them pay a reciprocal tariff of 100 or 200% right back. You hurt us, we hurt you. It's called an eye for an eye. I will also restore peace through strength, and I will prevent World War III from happening. We will stop it. You know, when crooked Hillary Clinton was running against me, she said, look at him, listen to him. He will start a war, a world war. We had no wars other than I defeated ISIS in its entirety. 100% of the ISIS caliber. Listen to his rhetoric. Listen to his horrible tone. I said that horrible tone is going to keep people from fighting us, and that's what happened. We had no wars. It's been 81 years since that happened for a president. No wars, other than ending some wars that we're in and defeating ISIS. 2 days ago, I watched a parade of the Taliban in Afghanistan. Did you see the Taliban, where they were showing all of our equipment that they took from America, $85 billion worth. 2 days ago, celebrating 3 years of the defeat of America by these guys. And I knew him very well. Abdul was the head. Abdul was not playing games with me. We had, they were executing a lot of our soldiers.
Yeah, let's take a look at that really quick. I don't know if you guys seen that. It goes back to the question, well, why are you supporting Trump? Guys, just look at the results, man. Look at the results. This is what the Taliban is doing. They're showing off in our face. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so those vehicles that you guys see, let me mute this. I don't need to hear that. Those vehicles you see, that's an automatic rollover. I mean, rollover means you're going up the mountain in that vehicle in Afghanistan and the vehicle literally will roll over. It's too heavy. It's just, anyways, that's a whole nother tangent. But yeah, these are military vehicles. These are our vehicles. This is what we left in Afghanistan. I was at Bagram Air Base, by the way, so I know exactly what they're talking about. And that's where they had a lot of these vehicles. It's like a sea of them just sitting there because they couldn't use them because they were killing soldiers. But the news isn't going to talk about that, obviously. But yeah, this is Joe Biden's foreign policy, right? Let's just, lousily or in a lousy way pull out of Afghanistan. And you know what's interesting? How do we pull out of Afghanistan where 13 Marines end up being killed and no one is relieved of duty? Make that make sense. No one is held responsible, no investigation, no hearing, nothing. Just, yeah, regular business. Sad. Just sad.
Don't do it anymore. There'll be no more. Anyway, I said it pretty tough. And you know what? For 18 months, we didn't have one American soldier killed in Afghanistan. And then I left. And this bunch of incompetent people took over, and it all started up again. And then they had the most embarrassing day in the history of our country, I thought. But she bragged about being the last person in the room that night, the night that they decided to do whatever they decided to do. In other words, she had the final vote, and she bragged about it. It's been the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan. It should have never, ever happened. We should have gotten out with dignity and strength. And you don't take your military out first. You take your military out last. They couldn't believe we did it. Under Trump, we will have no more wars, no more disruptions, and we will have prosperity and peace for all. And again, we're going to bring back that American dream for all of the young people in this audience and some of the old ones. This is how we will end the era of inflation, mayhem, and misery under Kamala and crooked Joe Biden and unleash safety, prosperity, and promise for Americans of every race, religion, color, and creed. Every single one of them are going to understand peace and wealth. And we're going to be a dominant force again. We're going to be respected as a country again. Right now, we're being laughed at. Together, we will deliver low taxes, low regulations, low energy costs, low interest rates, low inflation. We had almost no inflation during my 4 years, almost nothing. And they went up to 9.5%, and that number is a fake number because they don't add the worst categories. It was much higher than that. But it was record-setting inflation that everyone can, we're going to make sure, afford your groceries, afford a car, afford a home, low interest rates. We're going to get it all down. We will stop the invasion. We will end migrant crime. We will support our great police. We will strengthen our military, build a missile defense shield over the top of our country, an Iron Dome. It'll be a great Iron Dome, and much of it will be made right here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Why shouldn't we have that? Why shouldn't we have that? Other countries can have it, but we can't. It was our idea. It was our, Ronald Reagan wanted it many years ago, but then, in all fairness, you didn't have the technology. Today you do. We're going to have an Iron Dome to protect us from the lunatics out there. And we're going to keep critical race theory and transgender insanity the hell out of our schools. And we're going to keep men out of women's sports. No men in women's sports. Did you see in the Olympics? They had two transitioned. They transitioned. They were men, they transitioned to women, and they were in the boxing. and a young Italian woman was boxing one of the transitioned men, and she got hit with a jab, just boom. A jab is not like the hard. This is the harder one, right? If you're right-handed, boom. And she backed up. She said, "What just hit me? I just got hit with a horse. What just hit me?" Think of that. Then he did it again, boom.
Yeah, let me show you guys this channel really quick. I encourage you guys to follow this. My wife showed me this channel before. It's called Forgotten History. Very good channel to check out. This right here. Let me see if I can get the link here and put it in the chat for you guys. Because this guy really goes into depth about all the history that is not being reported by the military, especially when it comes to Joe Biden and his presidency. He talks about a lot of political figures in history, but the ones that I was really interested in was Joe Biden right here. He's one of the most corrupt presidents in history. Really good to watch, by the way.
By the way, he went on to easily win the gold medal. He just walked through everybody. He won the gold medal. Then there was another one, a transitioned man, and he also won the gold medal. He transitioned, and he won the gold medal very easily. So the two fighters won the gold medals very easily. And she came out, the Italian girl, beautiful girl, very good boxer. And she said, "Nobody's ever hit me like that. 2 jabs." She said, "I've never been hit." She just said, "That's enough, that's enough." It's crazy. It's so demeaning to women. How about the weightlifting? Hundreds of pounds more, hundreds. Records that haven't been broken in 18 years. 1/8 of an ounce here, 1/8 of an ounce, and they can't do it. You could do it. They can't do it. And a guy comes out, excuse me, a transitioned person. Ping. How much more is that? Oh, that's 128 pounds more. How crazy is this? Our country has gone crazy. And we're going to put it back on track. We are the party of common sense. We will defend the Second Amendment, restore free speech, and we will secure our elections. Everyone will prosper. Every family will thrive. We're going to be a thriving country again. And every day will be filled with joy, opportunity, and hope. Right now, it's filled with sorrow. It's sorrow. People are so embarrassed by what's happening to our country. They're waiting for Iran to drop weapons all over Israel, but it hasn't happened. You know why? Because our country is willing to pay them billions and billions of dollars. How about where they negotiate? I had 58 people we negotiated and we didn't pay. 58 hostages I got out, 59 I think, and got them out even from North Korea, the toughest. Had a good relationship with Kim Jong-un, but I got them out. But you never pay, because once you pay, you gotta pay. How about we pay $6 billion, $6 billion, and we get some out, and in the case of Russia, they get the Prince of Doom. You know who the Prince of Doom, the greatest arms dealer, they say, in the history of the world, and they got him, and we also gave $6 billion. It's so embarrassing, so embarrassing. And the world is watching. And you know, when you pay $6 billion, all of a sudden people are going to be disappearing from the streets all over the place. And it's a very bad precedent is being set in many ways, including the weaponization of our government. You know, I could have done that with Hillary Clinton. And I said to myself, how would it look? We're trying to unify the country. How would it look if I had arrested and put in prison the wife of the President of the United States? I thought it was not good. And then they do that to me. They want to...
Yeah, they want to lock him up. They tried everything. Yeah, Title IX, really quick, guys. Just, it's not common sense. I mean, it's funny how they want rights for trans, but they don't want rights for women. Like, how does that make sense? Like, if I was a woman, I would not want to be competing against a man. Like, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, biologically, there's a reason why in the military there is a male standard and a female standard. It's not the same. But that's common sense. And, you know, common sense is almost allergic today. Yeah. So good thing that Title IX was rejected. It was a 5-4 decision, which I'd be interested to know why it was 5-4. It should have, 6-3, 6-2, 5-4. Oh, man, that's crazy. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, Biden tried to change the Title IX language to include trans people to compete in women's sports, to allow transgender to use female restrooms. And it's not going to happen. It's just ridiculous. And it's for the smallest percent of our population. It's fascinating how much they're trying to cater, and they don't really need to. Listen, I've seen this in the airport before trans was a thing. In the airport, they'd have male, female, and then they would have a third restroom that usually is for family, or if the restrooms are full, you can go to that one. I don't understand. Why do we need to change the language of the restrooms? Just male, female, and then just it says restroom on the door over here, like with one stall. Like I could compromise on that. You know what I mean? I could say, yeah, just add one restroom. I mean, how many trans people are there really? It's barely any, like it's 0.001. So it's funny how they're trying to change everything for people who represent less than 1% of the population. It just does not pass common sense.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. But this is a very consequential Commonwealth, as we say, but this is a very consequential vote in Pennsylvania, because they say that if you win Pennsylvania, you're going to win the whole thing. We cannot let these people win Pennsylvania. That includes David. Can't let it happen. And together we will make America powerful again. We're going to make it powerful. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. We will make America free again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much, Pennsylvania.
All right. Obviously, I can't play that music because they will strike my channel. Yeah, so let's talk about some takeaways. It's the same standard rally. We all know that. A little bit more policy now. I think they're finally dialing in the message on how they're going to obviously talk about that, talk about Kamala, and talk about what he's going to do. And, I'll keep it plain. But we have to understand, it is August 17th. The debate between Trump and Biden was on... That was literally a month ago. I think that was June 27th. Yeah. So almost like a month and a half ago. And they did not announce Kamala Harris as the front runner for the VP until I think it was about 2 weeks from that debate is when they did it. So she's only been legitimately the presumptive nominee for about 3 weeks now. So we're really early into this election between her and President Trump. So, there's so much that has happened over the past month. You get the impression that, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do this. It's because so much has happened, but people are forgetting, no. The actual race, the election, starts when the debate goes down. Like after the DNC, that's when it's going to be something, okay? That's when we're really going to start here. All right, let's go with me here. That's when it's really going to start, okay? So right now, they're waiting for the DNC to take place. And so I want to leave you guys off with a couple of points. Let's talk about the DNC. The DNC, the only speakers are people who served as president or served in the government. So you're talking Obama, you're talking Clinton, you're talking Biden. They're not going to allegedly, this is what's being reported, they are not going to be allowing someone like a Dana White to go on stage and introduce Kamala Harris. They're only going with elected officials that were in the government or served in the government before. Someone made a great point. I think it was C. Mitchell possibly in the chat that they chose Chicago because obviously Obama, that's their territory, Democrat heavy over there. I believe, like I stated earlier in this live stream, if you live in Chicago, you should vote Republican, not because you truly support Republican, but you should vote Republican to stick it to the Democrats because they have been selling those citizens out. I mean, just the results tell the story. I mean, how much more crime needs to happen in Chicago? How much more money needs to be embezzled? How much more resources and money keeps going to migrants and not the local cities? I mean, how much more are they going to just keep allowing that to happen? You guys got the people in Chicago. They also have that city right outside Chicago with that corrupt mayor, Tiffany Henry, right? The one that's being investigated by the FBI. These are all black people. These are not white people doing that. These are black people running these cities where you see crime on the rise. You see corruption on the rise. Migrants are being put first before the citizens. It's not necessarily a race thing, but it's I find the irony to be that black people complain or don't want to vote Republican, so you vote Democrat, but then Democrats are treating your city this way to make it make sense. So anyways, DNC, you got the whole migrant issue right now. DNC also has the Palestine protests and pro-Israel protests. So you have two separate protesters that are going to be at the DNC. People who are for Israel and against Palestine. People who are for Palestine and against Israel. That's going down. It's crazy. And then there are also people that are going to be inside the DNC that are known as delegates. Remember, every state has a certain amount of delegates. How these delegates are chosen, I have no idea. I've never actually did the research on that. But there are regular citizens that are a delegate. And there are uncommitted delegates to Kamala Harris right now at this point. Does she have most of the delegates? Yes. Does she have 100% of the delegates? No. So it's not a situation where, if you guys recall, President Trump got most of the delegates, and then the only delegates that did not transfer over was Nikki Haley. And that did not happen until like a week before the RNC, where she publicly came out and said, I am transferring my delegates to President Trump, right? And then so when we went to the RNC, every single state, all delegates were given to Trump. He got all of the delegates. They're reporting that when they get to the DNC, that's not going to be the case for her. She will have majority of the delegates, but she will not get 100% of the delegates because of her stance when it comes to Palestine and Israel. That's what it is. And it's one of those things where it could blow up in their face, which is why she did not pick Josh Shapiro. She probably did not want to add to that confrontation within the Democratic Party because there are people who are against Israel in the Democratic Party. And so that's why she passed over Josh Shapiro. I think that was her mistake. I think the first mistake let's use the Democrats instead of her. The Democrats' first mistake is they became obsessed with President Trump. So since 2020, they were so obsessed with President Trump that they forgot about their own party. And that led to mistake number 2, where Joe Biden thought, hey, now that I'm the president, I'm going to be the president again. I mean, no one becomes the president and wants to serve one term. Let's just keep it real, right? But they were so focused on Trump that they forgot to prepare the next candidate for 2024. And they got blindsided when President Biden said, hey, I'm running for re-election again. That's not what they wanted. And so that was their second mistake. Their third mistake was, which is pretty funny actually, they allowed Joe Biden to do the to do the debate with Trump. And we know how that turned out, where he had to drop out. And now they had to go with Kamala Harris, which is not the best candidate, because what happened was he was being forced out. And again, this is other people's opinions, as a FU to the Democratic Party for pushing him out. He endorsed Kamala Harris when the rest of the Democratic Party did not want that. They wanted an open convention. So that, again, that was a mistake on their behalf. Now, the next mistake they made is she did not choose Josh Shapiro. And that's part of, I mean, the mistake is they've made so many mistakes. It's actually laughable for how organized the Democrats are, because they've allowed the Israel and Hamas war to just keep lagging on. If they really wanted to stop it, if they really wanted to do something, they could, but they're not going to do it. So as a result, they are where they are today, where they have a certain part of their party that is anti-Semitic. I mean, they do not support Israel. They don't like Josh Shapiro. And she basically went with Tim Walz because she didn't want to upset them. That's just what it is. And that was a mistake. And then the other mistake she made was coming out with this socialist policy. I mean, so, you know, and the last mistake they'll make is her doing a debate with Trump. I mean, if Trump just does 80% of what we want him to do, it will be over for her. He doesn't even need to be perfect on that debate night. He wasn't perfect with Biden. I mean, he doesn't need to be perfect. He just needs to do 80%. Yeah, so those are all mistakes on the Democratic side. And that's where we're at, you know? So I think the DNC is going to be a really interesting week. And, you know, there's going to be a lot of gaslighting from the Democrats. Oh, no, the economy is doing great. Oh, no, immigration is great. The border is closed. Oh, healthcare is good. You know, that's what Democrats are going to do. They're going to continue to act like everything is good and we can make it better. The problem is independents are not stupid. They know that, hey, that's not the truth. But also understand this, people. DNC is not actually there to get votes. DNC is to raise money. DNC is there to raise money and to officially nominate the nominee, right, to run for president. So it's a formal process. So the propaganda machine is going to be going, you know, balls to the wall for Kamala Harris next week. Do not get caught up in it, because you have to look at the bigger picture. The DNC, the whole purpose of it is to raise money and to officially nominate the nominee for the party. That's what it's there. It's not there to win votes. Winning votes are going to come from after the DNC, where she's going to start doing press conferences, interviews, the debate, town halls. That's where she's really going to try to win over those swing voters. And it's the same thing for Trump as well. So we have to understand the way that an election cycle goes. There's certain there's certain periods for certain actions. Right now, it's not the action to focus heavily on winning swing voters over, because right now for her, it's all about raising as much money as they possibly can. That's what they're trying to do. So they have enough money towards the end of the election cycle to continue to run ads, to continue to pay people to go out there. They don't want to run out of money, of course. So they're going to run up as much money as they possibly can. That's where they're at right now with that. So, you know, like I said, DNC is going to be interesting. Let me get into your guys' questions here and comments. Thank you guys for joining the live stream today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so. Once I get to 100,000 subscribers, we'll start doing a weekly live show where I will recap the week, and I'll also let you guys call in and say what you want to say and ask questions. Even people who may disagree with me, we'll also do that too. Let's see here. All right, here we are. Let's see here. Yeah, they did change the military base names. Fort Benning is no longer Fort Benning. Fort Bragg is no longer Fort Bragg. Fort Hood is no longer Fort Hood. It's stupid. It's stupid. Let's see here. Keep up. Thank you, guys. Let's see if we have any questions whatsoever. Will always be. How can you not laugh at? Yeah, I know, right? Kamala. Yeah. Listen, that's why, this is a good point. Ask the Democrats what Biden did for them. They cannot answer, but they won't change their vote. It's absolutely correct. And that's fine, because the focus isn't really on people who are hardcore Kamala Harris supporters or hardcore Trump supporters. It's the people in the middle, the people who haven't really been following. That has to be the main focus. Let's see here. Yeah, Lisa Newell, of course, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to come out and support Kamala Harris. But here's the thing. I know we like to say there are stupid people in this country, but I do not believe they're that stupid. And I'm talking about the people who consider themselves as a swing voter. They're not committed to either party. These people are struggling. And when you're struggling, you just don't have time for the BS. You want people to just tell you, hey, here's what we're going to do. And she's not really great at that. She's not. And I believe those voters, when they do the debate, and again, this is on Trump, obviously, as long as he sticks to the policy and speaking to that voter, she'll be finished. She will be finished. He will win the independent vote. But if he feeds into, trying to get into an argument with her and all this stuff, trying to defend the abortion stuff, he's going to lose that. So he needs to stay away from that. He needs to focus on immigration, the economy, crime, and prosperity. Just focus on that. And if he does that, he's good. He's good. And remind people he's done it before. That's the thing that I notice is like, I want to hear him say this more often. Like, listen, I've already done what you guys want these politicians to do. I lowered your taxes. I put more money in your pocket. I gave you a secure border, right? There was no new wars under me. You didn't have to worry about what was going on with Russia or Israel. You didn't have to worry about that. You got up every day. You were happy about your finances. The electricity was low. Gas was low. I did that already. So by you trying to figure out if you're going to vote for me or Kamala Harris, it's a simple decision. I'm just going to do what I did back in 2016. I'm going to do it again for you guys. And because I've already done it, it makes me more qualified and credible to do it instead of this career politician where all they do is tell you what they're going to do and they never do. I mean, that has to be somewhat of the language. Now, obviously, hey, I don't run campaigns. That's not my expertise. But I hope that he's going to go down that road. Let's see here. Yep, subscribe to the channel. Let's see what else we got. Here's a question. Do you think Biden will show up to the... Yeah, he's speaking. He's speaking. They put this on X. So, DNC lineup. Here it is. Let's show you guys. There you go. That is the lineup right there. So it's going to be Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Tim Walz, Kamala Harris. It's interesting that Michelle Obama's not speaking. Let's see here. Advertisements will not make or break a person's mind on their own decisions. Yeah. I mean, ads historically, it doesn't matter whether it's politics or not, they always have low conversion rates. Why the bases were renamed, but Hal Moore was a great choice. Let's see here. Hey, but there's a lot of people in California that actually support Trump now. That's the crazy part about it. Yeah, it just depends on the format of the debate. I totally agree with you guys. If they do it similar to CNN, she won't have a chance to say, I'm talking now. Like, they won't have a chance to interrupt each other because their mics will be cut off. So I really do believe they should continue to do that. Just cut the mics off. I think that's better. I think it works better for Trump, actually, because number one, it gives him the opportunity to not say something that we understand what he's saying, but people take it the wrong way. Let's see here. All right. So no questions. All right. So a couple more points, then we'll wrap up. So yeah, that's what the whole thing about the DNC is. They're going to have that issue. And then the debate isn't until September 10th. He proposed a debate for September 4th. I hope that Fox News does a town hall at least. If she doesn't go with the September 4th debate with him, he should just do a town hall. Just take questions, talk to swing voters. Do it in Pennsylvania or do it in Wisconsin, something like that, where he can just talk to them. I think that would be a smart play on his behalf. I think, honestly, in the month of September, he should just do town halls every single week. He should be in one of those swing states: Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, Nevada. He should just do that. But again, I'm not in charge. But it would be great if he did that, because you get to see a different side of him. That's why the Elon Musk and Trump interview was great, because you got to see who he really is, right? The problem with being a former president of the United States is that you automatically feel you have to defend what you've done because you've accomplished so much. And the problem is, being on the defense doesn't actually work for you a lot. It actually works against you. So that's why in 2016 he was so effective, because he wasn't defending anything. He was on offense. And so he needs to get back on offense, which I believe he is. And when he goes out to the town halls and stuff like that, he'll be on offense. He's not on defense. Let's see here. Yeah, there's a lot of people in California supporting Trump. Is it possible to speak to the Trump campaign manager and share ideas? I'm not too sure. I mean, I've seen on X a lot of people who reach out to them. I don't know if they responded back, but let's see here. It's a good question. I don't understand how people can stand to live in California under Newsom. I recently left Colorado after being there for 11 years. After retiring from the Army, thank you for your service. California's little California. Now, where did you move to, Brian? What state did you move to? And Gary the G-Man, where'd you guys move to? Tell me what state. I heard Tennessee's really good. Yeah, I heard Tennessee's really good as far as the tax thing go. Brian and Gary, you guys both left Colorado. Tell me where you guys went. I'd really love to know. Anyways, yeah, so here's something that's cool to give you guys some more encouragement. If you go to Kamala HQ, she probably already has some clips from his rally. Here it is right here. Look, Trump's audience is exiting as he rambles incoherently in Pennsylvania, leaving even more empty seats. Obviously, it's not true, but whatever. Okay. Anyways, this is what this whole X account is all about, is making him look bad. But what's funny is if you look in the comments, usually there's this other account, which it doesn't look like they're on their game today, but let's see. Oh, I don't see their response. Usually they have a response every single time. Let's see here. Let's go back right here. Let's do this one. It's a policy thing. All right, hold on. Let me find them. It's called Kamala HQ Lies. Okay, so they are responding. They're buried in the comments. So what they do is Kamala HQ will post something, and then they will post a response fact-checking that post. And usually they will do a ratio, meaning more people will like Kamala HQ Lies than the original Kamala HQ, which is pretty funny. Yeah, like this is a good one. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Let's see here. Trying to figure out where these guys moved to. Oh, Brian says I'm back in Georgia outside of Fort Benning. Okay, so got it. Is it Richmond, Georgia? Columbia, Georgia? What's the city by Fort Benning? I can't remember. Oh, okay, so you're in Arizona. Yeah, Arizona. That's one place my wife and we haven't went to check out yet. Montana has great small towns everywhere. Just don't bring any liberals with you. Yeah, I hear you on that. Trump never had empty seats. That's her, exactly. I live in Tennessee. Yeah. What happened if she cancels on September 10th? Then that will be bad for her. It actually works against her. She has to do the debate. There is no she can't do it. She has to. If she does not do a debate, the media will definitely get on her, because at that point they're going way too far. Let's see here. Moved to Tennessee. Okay, yeah, Tennessee was cool. Yeah, we didn't mind it. How long have you had this channel? I've had this channel for a while now. I've had a YouTube channel for at least a few years, but I really didn't do much with it. I did a lot of mindset content in the very beginning, took a break, and then started, spreading the truth. And it's been growing ever since, thanks to you guys. Let's see here. We moved from New Mexico to Texas, now to Missouri. Columbus. I knew it was one of those. Columbus. Yeah. I went to the city of Columbus. Not much there, but it was pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, so there's that point. And then the last point I want to make before we wrap up here is that every day we are dropping videos on the channel. I see some of you guys actually email me. I got a lot of emails from you guys and giving me ideas and stuff like that. But what I like to do is look at what's going on with politics and culture and try my best to give you guys a common sense perspective on what's happening. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so. Again, we will be going live once a week, recapping the week, and then giving you guys a chance to call in once I hit 100,000 subscribers. And we will next week probably go live for the DNC. I don't think I'm going to go live every day, but probably one of those days, probably on the day that she's going to speak, and do it like that. Senator Hawley is really good. I like him too. Okay, we have some questions here. Is she better on a prompter or verbatim? You mean a teleprompter? Yeah, I don't believe the debate. There will be no teleprompters in the debate. It doesn't matter if they give her the questions ahead of time. She's not good unscripted. Do you think it could be good for Trump to still do a debate on September 4th with Fox and have the empty? That's what I'm saying. I think he should still show up to Fox News and do a debate or a town hall. Just show up anyway, because it works against her. Because what will happen is all of the news channels will have to report it. It'll be a major broadcast. And he could start off by saying, hey, look, I'm here for the American people. I'm here to answer the American people's questions. Right? And he could totally use that as a way to call her out. I really do believe he should. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't think she's going to show up either. All right, guys. Well, that's all I have for this live stream today. I really appreciate you guys taking your time out on Saturday and joining us and watching this rally. I want to do more live streams like this. Again, I appreciate everybody who follows the channel, subscribes to the channel. Thank you for your support. My moderator, which is my wife, thank you as well. She always does a great job. I love her. And we just can't wait to see the craziness that's going to happen next week at the DNC. Expect riots, expect things getting crazy outside of the DNC. So that's going to be fun. And obviously they're going to give her a script to read from when she goes on stage. Don't be demoralized. Don't buy into the propaganda, guys, okay? That's what the whole next week is all about, propaganda to raise money. It's not the election. This election is not over. Debates still have to take place. Town halls still have to take place. Press conferences still have to take place. And she will do them. And if she does not do them, it's going to work against her, because what will happen is those swing voters, those independents, they're going to be left with hearing from Trump and his policies at the end of the day, and not hers. And so it doesn't work for her to keep ignoring the American people. It won't. It will end up getting worse. And then the media, sooner or later, will end up just saying, hey, this is getting out of hand. They've already started to do that, by the way. So, yeah, next week, stay focused, right? All right, guys, take care. Peace.